across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, forgive my language, but I think we should open up this show by awarding Dick of the Week. And I think it has to go to the sentencing minister, Jake Stevens, I think is his name, Jake Richards. Let me tell you what he said yesterday. He said that they couldn't keep the murderers of PC Andrew Harper in prison because Harper's Law, the stupid name for it, that gives additional sentences to people who murder those who are on emergency call, people like police, fire brigade, ambulances or whatever, is not retrospective. Well, if Jake Richards had any brains whatsoever, he would know there's a very, very simple solution to all of this. Every single member of Parliament, and by the way, your member of Parliament won't know this because he's probably not even consulted what the rules are in Parliament. Every member of Parliament can lay down a private member's bill, and they could lay down the following. This is what I would do if I was a member of Parliament or a member of the House of Lords. I would lay down the following bill. The PC Andrew Harper Murder Sentencing (brackets for Life) Act. And it would have one sentence. It would say, the three men sentenced for killing PC Andrew Harper will now be sentenced to life, full stop. Now, let me tell you, the Supreme Court, which, by the way, is not supreme in Britain, will go crazy. The judiciary will go crazy. The judges will moan. And indeed, we will hear from the Howard League for Penal Reform. But let me tell you a fact that most parliamentarians do not know. The Parliament of this country can pass any law it wants. It is entirely legal for it to simply vote to put these three men in prison for life. Of course, everybody would complain about it. And of course, the fact that we've named our court the Supreme Court, even though it's not supreme because there's a Supreme Court in America, will cause some confusion. But that is the solution. And I'll tell you why I wanted to say this to you before we bring on our brilliant first guest. The reason I wanted to say this to you is because members of Parliament do not exist to write back to you about supermarkets not opening late. It is not the job of your local member of Parliament to be the biggest social worker in the area or to worry about whether your pension wasn't paid. These people are supposed to vote on and amend legislation, and the big problem is most of them wouldn't know a parliamentary motion if it bit them on the backside. But anyway, that's my rant over. I'm furious about this simply because the claim that we can't do anything about these guys' sentences is simply nonsense. Do you know what? Give me a peerage. I will personally lock them up. Give me a seat in the House of Lords. You could give me it right now. You could. Don't worry, Jake.
You'll sort it all out. Don't worry about it.
Jake Richards, you appoint me. You give me the writ tonight. Tomorrow morning, I will put down a bill to jail those three forever. Anyway. That is my little rant. And by the way, just to be clear to everyone, we don't normally have a Dick of the Week. In fact, we're not going to have one again because I'll get into trouble for using foul language. But I'll tell you what we have got. We've got our first guest on. I'm really, really excited about this. It's Jeremy Boring. He's the host of The Boring Show, but also...
The Jeremy Boring Show.
He's also the creator of this new anti-woke programme, which is called the Pendragon Cycle series. So, Jeremy, look... You know, most people are going to be familiar with you already, but why don't you tell us about these two shows that you're launching, and then we can talk about everything else.
Well, I should have called it The Boring Show, first of all, to be clear. It was a real miss on my part from a marketing point of view. You know, I'm one of the founders of The Daily Wire, so we built one of the 10 biggest podcast companies in the United States, and we branched into all sorts of media. Yeah, I think we were one of the only new media companies to really, in a big way, tackle film and television. We had children's content as well. And nothing about my desire to do those things changed when I left the Daily Wire. So a lot of my time in the last year was spent trying to decide, you know, after a kind of breakup like what I went through at the Daily Wire, you know, these things happen in business.
What happened there? Was that with Candace Owens and all that sort of thing?
No, I had nothing to do with Candace Owens. You know, when I fired Candace, which is a real career highlight for me, all of my partners were in complete agreement. We knew that that was the morally correct thing to do, and we didn't hesitate about that at all, and there was no daylight between us.
So how come you left? You just had
10 years
wanted a
is
new
a long
project.
time to keep a band together.
You just wanted a new project, did you? Is that...
Well, 10 years is a long time to keep a band together, and I think it was probably time to go work on something new.
Look, I'm going to ask you a bit of a media insidey question, because obviously you've built the Daily Wire, got it right to the top, and now you're obviously building a series of new programmes. What has changed? Is it harder or easier now? You know, what will you do differently this time? Because one would assume that if everything was the same, you'd just do what you did last time, but presumably it's not the same.
Well, no. You know, one of the lessons of business is that you have to continually iterate. Nothing's ever the same. Even between launching the Ben Shapiro show and the Andrew Klavan show, which were our first two shows some 11 years ago, and the more recent launches that we've had, even at Daily Wire, so much has changed. You know, I think Daily Wire's success in part was attributable to the fact that we were early adopters of social media. Yeah. We saw the
mainly
opportunity
YouTube,
there to work around the gatekeepers.
Isn't it mainly YouTube that you're on?
My show right now is mainly YouTube, yes.
But has
Daily Wire, when we launched, was mainly Facebook.
Has YouTube changed its algorithm? People are saying it's all changed now, and our government's getting involved and putting their legacy media, which no one wants to watch anymore. Well, that's what they're doing in the UK. Is that going to affect your projects?
Yeah. I don't think it'll affect my project here. We're not seeing that as much stateside. I know it's a challenge for you guys in the UK that your government wants YouTube to promote BBC programming and other,
it's like North
other
Korea.
Sort of legacy media programming.
Yeah.
So tell me about the two shows, because they're actually quite different, aren't they? What you're doing on YouTube and what you're doing on Amazon.
Yes, well, you know, the show on YouTube is not exactly a political show, but it's certainly a philosophical podcast. You know, we deal with deep issues and try to explore them from a fair-minded but consistent with my values, which are conservative point of view. The Pendragon Cycle is much different. I mean, it's a major piece of entertainment that we have created. It's a 7-part series. It's anti-woke insofar as it reflects my values, but it's not anti-woke in the sense that it was designed with politics in mind. The series was written by an American author named Stephen Lawhead, who expatriated to Oxford some 30 years ago. And at the time that he wrote these books in the early 90s, you know, the world looked much different politically. He wasn't trying to make political statements. Actually. Some of them became political statements in time, perhaps.
Anyway, look, we got a little trailer of it. Let's have a look. Press play on the video. Let's have a look.
Critics and audiences are raving about the Pendragon Cycle.
They say Merlin slew hundreds.
The Merlin died long before you and I were born. There'll be no peace in these lands till we are all dust.
The Pendragon Cycle, Rise of the Merlin. Streaming now on Amazon Prime UK.
Well, OK, so that really is quite different to what you've done in the past.
Yes. Yeah. You know, we wanted to tell a story that obviously contains our values, but our main objective in telling this story was to tell a story that had deeply impacted me. I read these novels when I was a teenager. They helped form sort of how I see the world, what my understanding of kingship and leadership and the relation between a citizen and his country. Of course, that's the way I think about it, or a subject and his king. And, you know, from my point of view, this is really a story about when it seems like a civilization is collapsing, what can people do to promote their values and to push their legacy into the future.
Let me ask you this question. Do you know, I also have a YouTube channel, and the latest video that I've uploaded is called "Is This the End?" because it's really interesting. I'm getting increasingly pessimistic messages, and actually, I'll just tell you this: I was out to breakfast rather, with a friend of mine. He's got a master's degree. He's invested quite well. He's worth a couple of quid, and he literally said, I believe I'm hated in my own country now, and I'm simply leaving. And I said to him, no, we've got to stay in order to help people like the children being abused in Rotherham. And he said, look, the reality is, if I went to help them, I'd either be persecuted or prosecuted. Ultimately, I can't change the world. It's time to leave. And it's amazing, actually, isn't it, that people now in Britain are saying we have to leave this country because as British people we're no longer welcome.
Yeah, well, to the extent that people in the UK are thinking that, I think it's tragic. You know, as an American, I feel like I inherited most of my culture from Britain. I want Britain to be a great country. I'm an Anglophile. I admire your country. And again, I consider your great accomplishments to be part of my birthright in this country.
Without doubt.
You know, we need to live in a world where regular people can take action in their own lives and show agency and actually impact their own families, their own communities, and ultimately their nation. And when governments become impediments to that, then they're failing at their fundamental obligation.
When you live in a country where a man can have an Al-Qaeda training manual, he can make rice in based on the ingredients in the Al-Qaeda training manual, can do a lone wolf knife attack, slitting the throats of little girls, and then somebody stands up and says, A, he's not a terrorist, and B, the problem in Southport is the far-right thugs trying to divide our society. At that point, you hold your head in your hands and say, where did it all go wrong?
Yeah, well, but that same country is the country that gave us rule of law. It's the country that gave us the entire idea of trial by jury. It's the country that gave us this enormous legacy of individual rights and human freedom. And so how do we get that back in the United Kingdom? I don't know. Obviously, as an American, I'm not entirely sure how to get it back.
Can I ask another question? Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
Because I think this is a question that we together, the three of us, or indeed the two countries, need to really resolve. Wild berries, the Amazon of Russia, was attacked by Zelensky, rightly or wrongly. Many workers now refusing to go in there overnight because they're concerned about attacks on warehouses. 50,000 North Korean slaves have been brought in. 90% of their wages are given to Kim Jong-un, and the rest is what they need for food. They aren't allowed to talk to the Russians. They aren't allowed to fraternise with the Russians. They have to go to work and then straight back to their compound where they are guarded. We live in a country, and you live in a country, that laments slavery, and rightly so, in Virginia years and years and years ago, but simply denies that slavery still exists in this world. I'm told that being a white guy, the original sin that I'm guilty of is slavery. And right at the time when everybody is slagging me off for the fact that none of my relatives owned slaves, we see 50,000 new slaves deposited in Russia, along with the millions across the world. There are now more slaves in the world than there were before we attempted to abolish it. And yet, it's distasteful to admit slavery still exists, isn't it?
Well, there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that your country has made mistakes in the past, with acknowledging that your ancestors failed in the past. What I object to the most is that we're not allowed to also celebrate their great accomplishments.
Yep.
You know, are we the children of fathers who owned slaves? Maybe not directly children of direct fathers, but did our countries own slaves? Yeah, of course. But, you know, our fathers also abolished slavery.
Absolutely.
No, yes.
Our fathers are also some of the first people in human history to abolish.
But is this why
slavery.
we turn into all these myths and legends? Is it, you know, are we coming to end times, you know, and all this sort of fantasy series? A lot of people, that seems to be the zeitgeist of the last sort of 5 to 10 years, doesn't it? And is that because people see the end of days?
Well, perhaps, but I would say that one reason that the Pendragon cycle has found a lot of success, primarily in the United Kingdom, is because it doesn't wink and nod. It isn't ironic about the great legacy that we've inherited. It celebrates it. It says, no, we were a great people and we can be a great people again. But
it's never happened before.
Are people
the
looking
Romans,
for escapism? Maybe they are.
The Romans finished, the Greeks finished. You know, they don't normally come back. When a civilization goes, it goes.
Yeah, but we have something that they've never had, which is an unimaginable amount of agency. You know, because we've lived in free countries, we have the ability to impact the world that some of our forefathers did not have in those other civilizations.
Well,
I'm not willing to be black-pilled. I'm not willing to accept that it's just over and there's nothing we can do about it. We can at least go down fighting.
One of the things that worries me, Jeremy, more than anything else, I look at these young people running around. You know, support for Islamists, support for communists, support for removal of our right to free speech. And one of the things that strikes me is, first of all, you know, they're not bad people, right? They're not evil. They're not trying to do this in order to destroy the country. The problem that they've got is they believe that whatever happens, Britain will still be a free nation. If Britain elected a communist leader, it would be a free nation. If Britain was majority, not just majority Muslim, but a majority of people who believed in Sharia law, Britain would be a free nation. If blasphemy came in, Britain would still be a free nation. They cannot comprehend that actually the freedoms that they enjoy are not automatic, and that if they eradicate them, they will be eradicated.
Yeah. Well, listen, of course that's a problem. Freedom has allowed us the luxury of thinking that our state is permanent. And of course it isn't. But just because it's going through a difficult time now doesn't mean that it's over. I'm sure if we had been alive in the 1940s, we would have thought this could be the end. If we'd been alive during the Somme, we would have thought this could be the end. And they weren't. They were huge challenges, and people rose.
But we had a unified nation then. We're now a fractured nation, and, you know, the youth are saying, I wouldn't join the army. Anyway, look, we're going to take a break. Can you stay with us after the break?
I'd love to.
OK, let's have another look at the Pendragon there. Press play on the video again, and then we'll go into the break, and we'll come back and chat more with Mr. Boring, Jeremy Boring.
Critics and audiences are raving about the Pendragon cycle.
They say Merlin slew hundreds.
The Merlin died long before you and I were born. There'll be no peace in these lands till we are all dust.
The Pendragon cycle, Rise of the Merlin. Streaming now on Amazon Prime UK.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, so we are still here, Andre and Ash, and we've got Jeremy Boring with us, who is the host of the...
He's not at all boring.
The host of the Jeremy Boring show. Look, I mean, I'll tell you what, it's quite refreshing in talking to you. You're pretty positive about the future. How do you see things developing in the next couple of years? Are you one of these people who takes the view that actually the reason why things sound so bleak is because we're now able to expose them, problems perhaps in a way that we weren't able to before social media?
Well, I certainly think that that's part of it. But listen, I don't want to make you think that I'm Pollyanna. There are a lot of challenges for our society. So I wouldn't say that I'm some sort of sunny optimist. What I am is a person who believes in our capacity to take on these challenges. It's all over if we accept that it's over. I just think let's not accept that it's over. Let's go fight for it.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, in where you are in the States, you've got Trump, and even then there's quite a big fight. We're still on the left here. And people here seem to think, a lot of people saying, well, we've got to wait until actually it hits the fan, you know what I mean, till the economy crashes. And we're not got you've got sort of break with Trump, and there's a sort of, you're pushing back a bit. But here it just seems we've got to go hell in a handcart and then maybe rise up from nothing again.
You know, that sometimes happens, and I would say that's what our Pendragon cycle is about. It's about that moment when Rome left Britain and everything went to hell, and the Saxons were invading. And it seemed very bleak. And it was the end of something. And I do think we certainly live at the end of something. You know, we live at the end of the post-war consensus. And that's going to be an incredibly painful transition. And things may have to get worse before they get better.
Can I ask you a question that, that puzzles me? Because one of the big problems, somebody asked me the other day, just in a taxi driver said to me, why have there been so many British Prime Ministers recently? And my answer to that is very, very simple. It's impossible to do the job. The reason is because there are now so many executive agencies and quangos that when you come in as Prime Minister and say, I'm going to do this, you actually can't do it. The Prime Minister is not really in operational control of most parts of the government in any meaningful way.
They pull a lever and nothing happens. Yeah.
My understanding is in America there have been a proliferation of executive agencies as well. How much does that affect your democracy?
Yeah, well, it's a terrible problem in the States. You know, in theory, the President of the United States is the chief executive, and yet he's not the chief of the entirety of the executive branch. There's so many parts of the executive branch that have been made into bureaucracies that, as you described with your prime minister, he simply can't touch, or at least there's enormous resistance to him making changes. The administrative state is one of the great impediments to human freedom.
Yes.
And I think that you opened the show talking not only about my ridiculous last name, but talking about the fact that your parliament can, if it chooses to, legislate.
Yes.
And that's a similar situation in the States. You know, there are times when it feels like our Congress is vestigial, but it isn't. It is still an actual legislative body if it simply chooses to do that job. It's going to take that body to actually disrupt the executive.
I find it extraordinary. I mean, if I was a member of Parliament, I mean, I wouldn't have to do this, actually, but if I was a member of Parliament, the first thing I'd do is start reading the rules on what I can and can't do. I mean, the idea that, and I'm sure it's true in Congress as well, there are, I'm sure, a majority of members of Parliament who don't know how to amend a piece of legislation, and that's literally their job.
Yeah. You know, I think that what we've created on this side of the Atlantic is a situation where it's actually politically useful not to vote on most things. It used to be the case that legislation went through all these sundry committees and it was shaped and changed by legislators along the way. Now we just pass these giant omnibus bills, these huge bills that no one could possibly read the entirety of, because everybody's trying to hide from any sort of responsibility with the voter.
Is the people... Sorry.
Somehow that's an incentive problem.
Are there people pulling strings? You know, we hear about these secret organisations and, you know, WEF and the Bilderbergs and the, you know, all those sort of Illuminati. Are there people pulling the strings at the top, you know, weaving these laws in and stuff?
No, I mean, obviously there are organizations that have a lot of influence and attempt to wield a lot of influence, but I think that I think it's too easy of an excuse to say, oh, there are these nefarious forces.
Yeah, but all the countries have done the same thing. Like when we were putting them in four-star, well, we still are putting them in four-star hotels. So was New York, so was Germany. So all these countries all have the same policies. So it seems like they all meet, don't they, at the WEF, and Davos and all this, and they come back and they... it's basically being run by corporates, isn't it? It's corporatism that is sort of running our societies now.
I mean, I think that just to go from what Ash has said, I mean, I don't think that there's any one world government or anything like that, but I think there is a lot of groupthink. What it strikes me as is
100%.
that instead of members of Parliament going to London to represent their constituents, what happens is members of Parliament in London go to the country to justify whatever it is that they've been told to do. And there's no meaningful debate in any of it. I mean, I always hate in the time of Dickens, but in the time of Dickens, you know, every newspaper used to write word for word what was going on in Parliament. Now, if Parliament was sitting right now, it probably isn't actually, it's a Thursday, but if Parliament was sitting now, people would watch the debate that you and I are having in preference to what the debate is in our national parliament. Nobody gives a toss what they think because ultimately it's pretty boring and of no relevance or importance.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm a believer in Republican government, lowercase r Republican government, that you have to have representative leaders, and they live in a kind of tension. On one hand, they have to accurately and faithfully represent their constituents. On the other hand, they have to lead and challenge their constituents. They're neither populist, they don't just do what the mob wants, nor are they elitist, they just do what the Davos set wants them to do. They have to live in tension. And if they get too far into one side, there's an automatic correction. There's uprisings that bring them to the other side. What has happened now, and it's gotten so much worse since the COVID outbreak and the horrendous response of global government to COVID, is that the institutions have broken completely toward elitism.
Yes.
They now only represent themselves. They're in it for their own set of values, and they don't think about the people very much at all. And of course, now we're seeing populist movements on both sides of the Atlantic that are rising up and trying to challenge that. Now, the populist movements that rise up are hard to completely endorse because the mob often has a lot of really bad ideas. But it's understandable as a corrective to this moment of complete elitist institutional
But it's
rule.
I'll tell you what I find remarkable, the way that people continually say this is too important for politics. And you think, look, at the end of the day, if you are an expert, you're also an extremist. And let me explain that. If your specialist subject is something that you are more obsessed with than you are with anything else. So the person, if you get, like we did, the only people making a decision about the COVID lockdown are virologists, then what they will do is prioritise the virus not spreading. If you got people in who were also interested in economics, education, or indeed
sociologists,
or indeed a group of people who are just normal members of the public, they'd say, well, actually, shutting down our schools and placing children under house arrest actually will stop the virus spreading, but it's almost certainly going to be worse than them catching the virus, right? But of course, when you put virologists in charge, they'll only care about that one subject, and this is why we've ended up with this £100 million bat tunnel, because it makes perfect sense. The people who run Natural England are mad. They're obsessed with newts and slow worms and, you know, and rare owls and all this sort of thing. And they have been put in that position, create an extremist organisation with real power, pack it full of extremists, and you end up with a £100 million bat tunnel. And then people turn around and say, how did this happen? Well, because you put the nutters in charge. Now let's just be clear to everyone watching and listening. You know, look, if there was a government department that basically had to ensure debating existed in schools, and you put me in charge of it, every single lesson would include a debate because I am also a nutter, right? But in a democracy, what you do is you say you have all these experts, and then you have an elected person on top to make the decision. And as long as we have these quangos, as long as we have these executive agencies, that is not happening, and the result is nuttery.
Yeah, that's why technocratic rule should always be subordinate to representative rule. You have to have regular people who make these decisions, who have to weigh all the various experiences that impact ordinary people. And one of the problems with technocrats is that they can't weigh downside risk outside of their expertise, which is part of what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know, when people complain about pesticides making our food less healthy in the States, for example, that's true, but it's not the only truth. It's also true that because of those pesticides, we've been able to feed far more people than we've ever been able to feed before. And what a politician is supposed to ask themselves isn't what's perfect, it's what is the lesser of these two consequences? Or how do you balance between these two various concerns? It's never possible to do the perfect thing. The technocrat can't understand that. They only understand precisely what's in their lane, and they don't understand what the downside effects of that are going to be.
Well, Elon Musk is quite unique in that way because he is quite good at covering all bases with his sort of mind. Do you not think that?
Oh, Elon Musk, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason he's one of one on planet Earth right now. He's the richest man on the planet. He's the most productive man on the planet.
He's the most inventive man, isn't he? He seems he can see all kinds of, he's like a visionary in some ways.
He is a visionary, although I will say of Elon that the thing that he seems to understand the least is people. You know, he understands systems, he understands technology, he understands engineering. He gets it wrong sometimes with people.
He probably thinks they should be like him, doesn't he? I mean, I've heard he works constantly and he likes his workers to do the same. I think he thinks they should all be like him, like him, really.
Of course, the other thing is about Elon Musk. In reality, his hobby is technology, his job is technology, his life is technology. So there's no.
He looks at everything in a sort of analytical way, doesn't he? But anyway, look, going forward, I mean, we have Professor David Betsy of King's College saying it's inevitable, civil war, all the metrics are there. Do you think that's what's going to happen? Is there going to be a civil war in this country, in America, around the world? How's it going to manifest? I mean, he thinks it'll go in one country and then follow to the others. What do you think about that prospect?
Well, listen, I hope not. You know, we fought a civil war in this country, and it's the bloodiest war in the history of America. And you've had a civil war in your country, too. I mean, you've had a lot of civil wars of various stripes in your country. Yeah. And they're not great. You know, I think that sometimes I think because we're a very wealthy society, we're all a little bored. And we almost long for the excitement of something like a civil war. I think that that's real folly. What we should long for, what we should hope for, and what we should strive for is that we're able to prevent that kind of cataclysm by making changes in the world without it.
But isn't
because if it takes civil war, that's going to be a terrible result.
Isn't it? What,
no matter who wins.
In Roman times, didn't they end up with loads of leaders and emperors, like we're ending up with loads of prime ministers, and there was sort of a merging of the sexes, isn't it? There's a lot of parallels to the fall of Rome and the fall of the West.
I think, Asher, the Western Roman Empire, unless I'm very much mistaken, gave up trying to create social homogeneity and instead decided that each individual community should be governed in a way that reflects their own individual community. I think you're seeing that in Britain with two-tier justice.
Yeah, the Western Roman Empire extended the definition of citizenship so broadly that it no longer had any meaning. You know, in order to have a nation, you have to have things that you're willing to live for, fight for, and create together. You have to have culture. That's what a nation is. It's a group. Ultimately it's a group of people organized around some sort of organizing principles. Sometimes that's racial or familial. Sometimes it's more ideas. I think in the story of Great Britain and in the story of America, it ultimately was these ideas that we had, these cultural contributions that we had, that transcended just blood and just soil. Although it was a particular people in a particular place at a particular time having those particular ideas, the ideas we thought could be applied much more broadly than just to those particular people. If there is nothing that we have in common, then there is ultimately nothing for us to organize around and nothing that we're willing to live, fight, and die for. Then we won't have nations. Of course, what we will have is some sort of strong man who rises up and forces us back into some sort of common culture. Again, that's a bad outcome. And it's not an inevitable one, even though things look bleak.
OK, Jeremy, I have to say to you, thank you so much for coming on. You know, I've seen you from afar for all of these years. I hope you will come back on. And also, what I want everyone to do is to, obviously, if you've got Amazon, you can watch the Pendragon cycle. But also, on YouTube, follow the Jeremy Boring Show. I'm just going to... Why don't we give the spelling of boring? B-O-R-E-I-N-G. Because then you can have a watch of some of the stuff.
Didn't even spell it right.
B-O-R-E... Oh, sorry. OK. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Also, I'm going to say to you, I'm sick of whatever hairstyle I come up with being wrong. So, shove it.
Anyway, that was Boring, Jeremy Boring. Check out his show, as Andre says, the Pendragon Cycle series on Amazon. And the Jeremy Boring Show. He's not boring at all. Anyway, it's Andre and Ash, 03444991000. We're going to talk to Kieran Kelly, who is what is it? He's the Great British Great British National Strike. That's his party. We'll be back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, so I think our next guest is it Pete Barnes?
It's Pete, look, yeah, there he is.
There he is.
Yeah, all right, Pete.
Hello, Pete. How are you?
Come in, Pete.
Hi, guys. How you doing? Are you
We
all
can
right?
hear,
Nice to
there
see
you
you
are.
both.
Left a bit, Pete. No, the other left. That's it, yeah.
There you go.
Pete, you sent a text message in earlier to the producer of something that you wanted to talk about, which actually, you know, some people have said is a bit of a dry subject, but I think is really, really important. Tell us about the national debt.
So there's a report out today that's come from the Taxpayers Alliance. It's put our national debt now at £3 trillion. That's with a T.
Do me a favour, Pete. What is a trillion? How many million is it?
It's 1,000 billion, isn't it? 1,000 billion?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So
it's 1,000 billion.
So so a billion is 1,000 million, and then it's 1,000 of those.
Yes. So to put it into context, the average household now owes in debt nationally over £100,000.
Wow.
That is per household.
Wow.
So the ONS statistics have it at 2.99. The Taxpayers Alliance today have announced this is before John Healey's spending spree in October. We're now looking at something that's going to be over 3 trillion. We think since July last year, the debt alone has gone up 30 billion.
Just for everybody, because I just want people to understand this. So if you were to put this out, if you were to work out what this number is, what you need to do is you need to do a 3, and then you need to write 12 zeros. 12 zeros after it, and that will be the correct number.
But basically, the interest we're paying at the moment is about 150 billion a year, just to keep us level, like not paying off the debt, just paying the interest. And that's just nearly the whole NHS costs about 200 billion. So that's just an interest. That's not going anywhere. And interest rates are going up. Our economic viability is going down. You know, whether they'll bail us out, which is what we had to do in the 70s, and it looks like where we're going. What's going to happen, Pete? Because sort of we've passed the point of no return, really. Isn't it all going to come down, especially with the welfare bills and them not cutting anything? Isn't it all going to come crashing down quite soon?
Yeah. Well, the reality is, I've got to go back to the last conversation you just had as to why we've had so many prime ministers. This is already happening. The crashing down is happening. We've had so many prime ministers, we cycle through them. It's not because they're incapable of doing anything. It's that there's no money to do anything. That's the reality of it. To close down every executive agency, you're looking at billions upon billions of pounds to literally shut them down. Then you've got the
Why is
that will have...
Because of redundancies and all that sort of thing, you mean? Right.
Realistically, yeah. And then you've then got to have the fact that you're going to have an overworked civil service because you've lost so many people out of that sector. It just spirals out of control.
Just a matter of interest. Just a matter of interest, Pete. So you said £100,000 per household. I've worked it out because just in case we don't know how many people it is per household, it's £45,000 for every man, woman and child in the country. So look round your own family. Pete, there have been big debts before, there's no doubt about it. I think John Major was up to about £20,000. Forget Andy Burnham, forget John Healey. How would you pay it off, and can it be paid off?
Realistically, the only way we do it is we stop talking about, like, you know, window dressing, like asylum hotels and things like that, and we go for the real stuff. We go for the actual structural waste, and that's realistically cutting massive amounts out of the NHS, out of the education budget. And literally, we have to gut like we've never done it before.
Well, of course there is. Of course, what you could do, you could call time on the Ponzi scheme that is the pension fund. Yes. The money that you pay in for your old age lasts an average of 4 weeks inside. It's a classic Ponzi scheme. The new members are just paying out the old members. In reality, I would say a couple of things. Point number one, if we are going to have uncontrolled immigration, we have to abolish welfare in the NHS. That's it. Now, I personally do not want uncontrolled immigration, but if we're going to have you can either have a welfare system and an NHS, or you can have uncontrolled immigration. I think most people can see that you can't have both. I think the next thing you've got to do is we've literally got to do what I did in the Royal Borough of Windsor and Maidenhead. Take a list of civil servants and delete every fourth name. And just in order, simply because, you know, you've just got to say one quarter of all civil servants are going to have to go, whatever they are. And if they did a really important job, which I've no doubt some of them did, everyone else is going to have to cover for them. And I think and I think also we've got to cut the red tape and bureaucracy. We've got to get people working again. And I will tell you, people now are form fill for a living. You know, every business owners don't run anything anymore. They just send reports to government.
And pumping oil. We've got to start pumping oil, because that is what paid for us in the 80s,
Pumping oil,
isn't
of course.
But the oil thing is a really prime example of this. Is we don't have the money to pay for the infrastructure to drill and then pump for the oil. That's how bad the situation really is. And Andre, you're absolutely bang on. We need to get people back to work, not in a job. That's the key difference. And I thought what you were saying about Elon Musk was a really good example of this. He isn't just the richest man. He's the most productive person. Everything he does, every company he has is down to one single vision. And because we don't have industrial strategy, and we haven't had it since before I was even born, that is one of the big problems.
We haven't got industry, though, Pete. We'd have to cut energy, but he's got that analytical mind. He can look at things and say, we can cut this, and this, and we need someone who can do that.
So can we do another piece of trillion mathematics? Under Lancashire, there is 200 trillion cubic feet of shale gas worth a total of £160 billion. And what did Ed Miliband do? Poured concrete down the hole so that nobody could ever use it. Unbelievable. And this is the thing, Pete, that you know and I know, but perhaps other people watching and listening don't know. The people of Lancashire are happy to produce the energy that powers the nation. This is where coal came from. Offshore oil and gas in Morecambe Bay. I mean, even down to Heysham 1 and 2, the nuclear power stations in Morecambe. Well, they're in Heysham, obviously. But, you know, you have the capacity where Lancashire could produce 20, 30%.
And under Gatwick, the Gatwick gusher.
You could have
Horse Hill.
You could have Lancashire producing 20-30% of the national grid, and what we've actually got is we're importing gas from bloody Norway, and all they're literally doing is pulling it out of an oil and gas field which we own.
Couldn't agree more. What Ed Miliband did, he should be in prison for. If I'm being brutally honest, that is how bad the decision that he made. He has literally put the foot of the state on our necks, because we can't get out of that because of the concrete, because of how he made sure we can't go after it without spending even more money. I will also say that the places you named, Andre, would take great pride in being the fuel creator of the nation again.
Do you know what I said? I'll tell you what I said. If I'd have been running in Makerfield against Andy Burnham, I'd have pledged the following. We are going to frack Lancashire, and we're going to give every household in Wigan, amongst other places, £2,000 in cash. Because I'll tell you what, they're going, oh, no, I wouldn't want shale gas in my area, even if they gave me £2,000. Listen, love, this ain't Surrey. Right, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it smells bad anyway.
I'm telling you, the Wiganers would be banging down the door of the council for £2,000.
They love it, yeah.
Oh,
Northerners love
that.
energy.
Yeah, but no, we love £2,000 more. But
but you got to pay £45,000 as well out for the for all the
true
swings and roundabouts.
I think what we're really talking about here is yet again that big problem of we still need to buy the equipment to actually get the shale gas out of the ground. This is the bit that we need to understand is we don't have the money to do that bit.
And what
Pete, we get investment to do that.
Pete, we have to cut you off, but I have to say,
you've said too much.
What a shambles that £160 billion worth of shale gas, and it's not even that we're not using it; it's that he destroyed the well.
That's vandalism,
so it could never be used again. Pete Barnes, thank you so much. Asher?
03444 0899 1000. We're going to talk to Kieran Kelly from the founder of the Great British National Strike next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, well, I have to say to you, so Andy Burnham, of course, is a member of my parish in the Catholic Church from where I'm originally from, St Catherine's, which I think has merged with St Thomas's. But anyway...
Does that mean you go to the same church?
Yes.
Oh, did you see him? Did you used to see him down there?
Well, I don't think I should say this, actually, but my nephews and nieces go to school with his kids. But let's not go any further than that, because what we don't want is some lunatic turning up at any of the schools or whatever. I've probably said too much anyway. OK, so Andy Burnham has said that 3 things are important in his life, apart from his family: Everton, FC, the Labour Party and the Catholic Church, in that order. It has to be said that traditionally in Liverpool, Protestants were supporters of Liverpool and Catholics were supporters of Everton. Anyway, look, I think, you know, Andy Burnham is probably the only genuinely Christian leader since Tony Blair in this country. You know, I might be wrong on that. But what do we think of how we can bring back Christianity in this country and into public life? Kieran Kelly is with us. He's been with us a couple of times, and he is from the
Christian Institute.
The Christian Institute. Kieran, look, you have expressed major concerns about previous governments. Are you hopeful about Andy Burnham?
I think it's really early to see, isn't it? So I know that's a really boring answer, but am I hopeful? I think it's right to be hopeful, guys, isn't it? I think it's right to be hopeful, to give the guy the benefit of the doubt before he kind of he's barely got his feet under the table. He's off on holiday. Let's. I mean,
it's interesting. It's interesting, though, isn't it? That he was willing to describe himself as a Catholic. I mean, he is, right? I mean, I can vouch for that myself. But previously, I mean, in the past, saying you're a Christian, saying you're a Catholic, saying that you believe in God was considered a bit lame and a bit...
Yeah, remember Tony Blair on his knees with Bush in the Oval Office praying? They tried to hush that up.
But I also remember the famous quote from Alistair Campbell saying, "We don't do God," and Andy Burnham, to his credit, is kind of prepared to sort of be out and open about that. Although I think he's also said, and I don't want to misrepresent it, but I think he's also said he sort of gave up. That might be too strong a word, but had issues with the Catholic Church because he felt that the church had become obsessed with kind of LGBT kind of things, and of course, particularly the T, of that is so dominant in our society. So he's going to have to grapple with that.
I think it is slightly unfair because my reading of the Catholic Church, and no doubt your own denomination is the same, is that what we have sought to do is to stand by those principles that we believe are biblical. Now, at the end of the day, we can only read the Bible and tell you what we think, and we may well be wrong. Now, look, ultimately, the difference between perhaps what happens in the Catholic Church and what happens perhaps in a mosque is that it is not for me to condemn anyone. It is not for you to condemn anyone. All we can do is give people the benefit of our wisdom and tell them that God will decide. And so in that sense, nobody's obsessed with LGBT, gay or divorce or abortion or anything like that. What they're saying is, this is my best understanding of godliness, and you will do your own thing because choice is vital in Christianity and God will judge. And in that sense, you're not obsessed with anything, I would suggest, Kieran.
Well, I think certainly it's the case that, I mean, as Christians, we look at what the Bible says, and we it's not a private thing. Christianity shouldn't just be a private thing. I know there is this kind of obsession with, as long as you just think what you think and keep it all private, then that's fine. Just don't be bringing it out into the public square. And I think if you're going to be faithful to what the Bible says, you want to be saying, well, this is what it says. We think it's good for everybody. We think it's good for society. I think the obsession thing, I absolutely agree with you. I think it's been really unfair. Because I think really what society has changed, and I think there is segments of society that are pretty obsessed with it. Yeah. And of course, the church is kind of going to say, well, actually, we see things in a different way.
I don't. When I go to my church, you know, these issues don't come up because fundamentally, I mean, look, everything in the Bible is important to Christianity, but there are things that are more central than others. Forgiveness, community, in my case, transubstantiation or whatever. And I think that then... I think the problem is that there is a feeling that Christians are very preachy towards people that live a different lifestyle to them. And I don't think that's a fair criticism. I think...
When you hear Ken ringing in, you know, but they've sort of banned them in town. You see a lot of arrests of Christian preachers. People are having a go, and you see outside the abortion, the laws made against them. What's going on with Christianity? It's almost like the enemy now.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's sad, and we've personally, our Christian Institute has dealt with a number of cases of what happens is typically is somebody's out preaching, and because people don't like preaching just generally, they'll go and find a police officer and say they're saying something that we don't like, whether they've said anything at all on the gay issue or whatever, and the police come up and they'll take the word of the person who's made the complaint. Yes. So we've dealt with a number of unfair arrests in that regard. So it does seem that there is, if you make this complaint, I've been offended,
but we've got a caller.
That's enough for a police to take action.
But we've got a caller called Ken, who may or may not be listening. But he says, look, if you are gay, if you are an atheist, if you're Jewish, you're going to hell. Now
but he still loves you.
Now at the end of the day, you may consider that fruity, but he's simply quoting from his own religious
beliefs.
Textbook. And ultimately, in a Christian country, whether you like his interpretation of the Bible or not, I think you are mandated.
And it's protected under the European human rights, isn't it? Anyway.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talk about the kind of the abortion buffer zones, and we were dealing with a case at the minute of a guy in Northern Ireland who was preaching the gospel. I mean, he was preaching John 3:16, which I mean, people are reasonably familiar with. God so loved the world, right? And he wasn't arrested, but he was taken to court later on. He's been fined. He's been found guilty. He's been fined. It was nothing. He wasn't saying anything about abortion. Nothing about abortion. Didn't allude to abortion.
But even if he does, that's his belief. It should be protected under the freedom of expression.
Well, I think Asher and I think that standing outside abortion clinics as Christians actually isn't good enough. I would like to see Christians inside the abortion clinic offering that opportunity, because we're not talking about people throwing things or being abusive. No. These are young women in a very, very difficult set of circumstances, and I believe that they should benefit from the full range of opportunities that are available to them. And for some of them, working with a Christian group to bring the child into the world and do whatever will be be advantageous to them. I see no argument whatsoever for refusing to give women the full breadth of options that they have available to them. Only one option is banned. It's ludicrous.
Yeah, if you're genuinely pro-choice, then of course you would support that view. But interestingly, in Northern Ireland, it's kind of, there's been some guidance from the police. I've got some sympathy with the police, the PSNI in Northern Ireland, but they came out with some guidance that sort of said, well, you might want to be careful if you're carrying a Bible through a hospital. You might want to be careful if you're praying openly in the hospital, because if it's an abortion area, then you could get into trouble. I've got some sympathy. The reason I say I've got some sympathy is because they're trying to interpret a really rubbish, subtly worded law. The law is so vaguely worded, so broadly worded, and they're trying to make some sense.
Forgive the language, there's so much crap legislation that doesn't mean anything. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, they're struggling to interpret it. They're absolutely, yeah.
What do you say? What about churches? You know, you see churches getting taken over. What's going on with other religions? People are saying there should be laws brought in to protect churches. What's your view on that?
Church is just a building, would be my view. A church is just a building. I know they're historic and what have you, and I don't think I would want to be sort of advocating for those kind of limitations.
With respect, Kieran, I think the argument isn't about the building. It's more about dismantling the infrastructure of a Christian community.
Well, the graves as well.
And instead building the infrastructure of a Muslim community, and how that would permanently change society. I think that's more of the point.
Yeah, I think the sort of the demise of Christianity in this country is somewhat overstated. I mean, I don't think that. Certainly there's an awful lot of pressure. Don't misunderstand me. There's an awful lot of pressure. And one of the things that worries me about the kind of the climate, and this is kind of the question about what Andy Burnham might do about this, is will there be an environment that is conducive to the spread of Christianity, or one that is kind of cautious and sceptical of the value that Christianity brings to what is a Christian country?
OK, well, look, thanks. That's Kieran Kelly from the Christian Institute. That was very interesting. But next, we're going to be speaking to Mike Salem. It's Salem's Lot, going through all the papers and all the latest news on tour.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. And before we start, Mike Salem, j'accuse. Right. During the break, Salem threatened me, right? Now, there is something we can't talk about, because if we talk about it, we have to name all 31 candidates, right? Salem, if you mention it, you will be removed. Right? We are channeling the memory of James Whale. Right? You can't be sitting there, A, looking like the Tsar, and B threatening me with that. Because I'll tell you what, when Pete Barnes did it the other week, we had to play this tape. It was about 4 minutes.
You've got a tape of Jeremy Kyle reading it all out. It's quite nice, actually.
Well, it's quite clever.
Later anyway.
It's quite clever of you to have the tape ready, because I've seen people having to actually go through the full 34 names or so.
Oh, is it 34?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
Right.
Sausage face and all that. Anyway, there is no sausage face.
By the way, we are deliberately doing this to wind up Adam, the producer, because he sat there, his hands quivering over the button.
Anyway, look, before we get to the papers, but by the way, if you're listening in the morning, it's Mark Dolan's going to come up, I think, at breakfast, isn't it? Yes, viewers and listeners. But Salem, you've been Salem's lot, this is now. You've just come back from Elba, where Napoleon was exiled the first time round. Tell us about your trip to Elba.
Indeed. Thankfully, I was not exiled. I was just going for tourism. It's very lovely. I mean, I thankfully evaded all the fires.
Where did he stay, like? Because they let him take his own army with him there, didn't they?
They
troops,
did.
And he actually escaped back to France and sort of took over and all that.
Indeed. And it wasn't an escape. He actually did a party, a goodbye party the last day before he left. And he left and took 800 people with him. And as he marched through France, the more they sent to stop him, the more of these armies ended up joining him.
He was a very charismatic man. Did you go to his pad then? Did he have a nice pad there?
So he had 2 residences, an official one and a summer one. I didn't go to the summer one, but I went to the official residence. And it's actually very interesting. It's a very lovely island, nice beaches,
If
nice
you're going to get exiled, it may as well be there.
Indeed, I can't see why he left.
Do you like lying on hot beaches?
Well, if I've got a good book handy, then that could be useful. But I do get bored quite quickly.
Do you like lying on a hot beach with a trollop?
Well, I'm not sure about the last
Only
bit.
if it's got a good book.
Yes, a good book is very important. I was reading The Odyssey, actually, so I can watch the film later. So
Well, I'd ruin it all.
Just a matter of interest, and for those of you that are listening on Friday morning, I'll just recap this. We were just talking to Kieran Kelly about Christianity and Andy Burnham. Look, one of the things that we have failed to do as the United Kingdom is support Christianity around the world. Some of the biggest victims of that are in Syria, the country that you come from. Are you positive that there will be any change in the West's general view that massacring Christians is acceptable?
Well, I think massacres generally should be condemned. Of course, the Western world, which is predominantly or was predominantly Christian, need to make sure that Christians are protected and taken care of. And I think that's a message we've always been keen on trying to share it. It's not about people moving away from the Middle East. In fact, it'll be good for Christians to stay in the Middle East to, retain the homeland.
But cleansed out there, and no one even talks about it.
Yes, it's very sad, and with the rise of fundamentalism and Islamism, it was very tricky for the very few Christians. Well, it still is very tricky for the few Christians that are still there to live. I mean, Syria had 10% of its population Christian. It was Christian, and now it's a few percent.
Just a matter of interest. This is one of the questions that people are going to ask. What is it practically like day to day? So obviously, you are from a comparatively wealthy family. Does that make a difference? Were you abused on a regular basis?
Did you have to pay the jizya tax?
So that was not a thing, because the whole Syrian regime at the time was keen on secular aspects of it, albeit aligning itself with the majority Sunni Muslims. There was no jizya per se, but ISIS did introduce that when they took over 50% of Syria and big parts of Iraq as well. They've reached Mosul.
So actually, in reality, your experience growing up is of a reasonably secular state. So you actually, the things we're talking about, you haven't personally experienced, have you?
Indeed. I mean, even generally, even if you're a Sunni or a Shia or a Christian, even Christians from all subsections of society, they did not suffer religious persecution. The regime at the time was more about loyalty to the party, loyalty to the leader. So that was a different expectation there. So it depends on your priorities. And I think with this regime, On paper, they are saying they're very tolerant and welcoming and open, and they've appointed a woman Christian as one of their ministers. But in reality, there are lots of attacks targeting Christians, and what seems to have happened is that, sadly, with the regime change, it has enabled Muslim fundamentalists to actually commit
well, in
these
the last 20
attacks.
years, I mean, you look at Bethlehem in Israel-Palestine, it was 80% Christian, I think, only about 30 years ago. Now that's down to 10%. So they've mainly left.
Indeed, that's the sad reality. Is many Christians have left the Middle East, which is a shame, because actually what I do see, I converse with many Christians here in the West, and many of them would like to do a pilgrimage to the holy sites in Jordan and Israel, and, you know, and Syria's got a few holy sites too. So many Christians want to come to the Middle East and see the holy sites, but sadly many Christians in the Middle East are leaving because life is, you know, economically, but even religious-wise, it's not very friendly anymore.
Dangerous,
particularly in Syria. So
well, they were burning down Christmas trees, I saw in
Indeed, they were. That was quite terrible. And, you know, they bombed a church last year, killing more than 50 people.
So they say one thing, but they're not really doing it.
It's interesting, though, actually, with a lot of these things. And conversely, you know, with the Serbs in Kosovo, the typical trick of a lot of this religious hatred is to allow the militia to do it, and the government just turns a blind eye, and then they go, well, we are not discriminating against anyone, in the knowledge that they are allowing the boot. But it's exactly the same, frankly, as Kristallnacht, where basically it wasn't really the sort of regular police and soldiers that were getting up to all this, but it was clearly the Nazis that were in charge.
Yeah, indeed. And I mean, this is the problem with this enabling culture, where you just tolerate it. You don't hold anyone to account. You don't bring people to the full force of justice. And, you know, whenever something does happen in Syria, the current regime says it's a singular attack, had no connection. Fair enough.
Well, that's what we do in Britain.
Look at the way our leaders fawned over the new Syrian leader, who was just formerly ISIS, and then he puts a suit on, and they all go out shaking his hand. And look at Saudi Arabia after the Khashoggi incident, and, you know, straight away all the businesses pulled out, but it only lasted a few months and they were back in there. So it's all just a show, isn't it?
It's a tricky person and conundrum for me, because, you know, my faith teaches me to forgive, but how can I forgive a man that has killed responsible for killing many Christians, and, you know, planted bombs that I survived? So it's a real conundrum. You know, my faith tells me to forgive, but now you've got a man that's, you know...
Did you ever suffer any terrorist attacks yourself? Or
yeah, well, I mean, I think I had it easy, to be honest, in comparison to people who've lost family, who've lost parents, children. Horrible. I mean, I know people who've lost their siblings. Yeah, I mean, of course, we lived in war. You know, you survive.
So what happened? What was your? Give us an experience of what happened.
So I was, for instance, going to school on the school bus, and one of my friends missed the bus. And had he not missed the bus, I wouldn't be here today, because I missed the explosion by 2 minutes.
Why? And it killed all the people and the kids on the bus.
I missed 2 of them.
So just to be clear, what you're saying...
So you stayed behind with your mate?
No, I was on the bus, but had he actually delayed us by 2 minutes...
Yes, had he got on the bus, it would have slowed the bus down.
Indeed. Yeah. So we just missed it by a few minutes or so. And it's terrible, because parents...
So just to be clear, how does that make you feel?
Well, I don't know, because I think at the time you didn't really have time to think about all these things.
It's sort of normal. It becomes part of your life.
Sadly, it does, and you just sort of live and carry on. But I don't want to overthink it, because
it's a bit like Northern Ireland. People that lived in Northern Ireland.
Well, I mean, anyone who survives war, sadly, it's just, you know, you either get shell shocked or you just carry on. And you know, I was catching up with a friend from the same school a few years ago, and he's saying a few years after I left, and actually an RPG attack there was an attack on the bus. I don't know if it was purpose or not. It killed an entire school bus of...
A rocket-propelled grenade?
Yeah. School children, and from the same school that I used to go to, and it's very tragic.
Mind you, I will say one thing. There was a car bomb at my school.
Oh, OK.
I mean, that was in Liverpool, but Irish Catholics, what can you do? I'm not joking. There was actually a car bomb. God knows. Apparently, it was some local dispute.
Oh dear. So, yes.
Yeah, they will behave like that. Yes, it's interesting, actually, isn't it? Because I would like to see. We will get on to the press preview, but I would like to see us standing up and saying, do you know what? you know, it's not just Muslims being oppressed in the world, because there is this narrative that every single Muslim, wherever they are, is being oppressed, and every single Christian is an oppressor, every white person is an oppressor. And the reality is, as long as we give people this victim mentality, they feel able, perhaps not in this country, but they feel able to commit acts of violence as punishment for offences that have really not taken place.
Well, this is why I very much like my Christian faith, because it teaches how to forgive and not to punish. Because judgment is reserved for God on Judgment Day. But, you know, at any rate, it's terrible, and I think, you know, we should not generalise or discriminate, and we should treat everyone kindly and, you know, just fair and you know, fair as it is. Can
I have a look? Somebody sent this in, right? And I'm sure that this is genuine. It's from the Belfast Telegraph. And it says that Greta Thunberg has visited West Belfast in order to attend the Kneecap homecoming gig. I find this Kneecap group, you know, I mean, I'd let them do whatever they want to do, but they revel in sectarian hatred and violence. And as far as Greta Thunberg's concerned, I don't understand how she is allowed in the United Kingdom. She clearly is linked to Palestinian terrorists. She's somebody who I would suggest is a threat to British national security. And just because she dresses like an 8-year-old doesn't mean she's not a grown woman with dangerous terrorist links.
Well, I think you raise an important...
Sorry, by the way,
yes.
Going to visit a group of people who like terrorism.
I think you raise a very important issue on the consistency of how this entry to the UK is being applied, where it seems to be more stringent to those who support the right.
It was two-tier, like everything we live in.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, sadly, that's what... I'm trying to be charitable and generous, but I just...
No, you don't need to be.
The trend, sadly, just shows that more people from the right are not being admitted.
At the very basics, we have a right, forget Greta Thunberg's associations, we have a right to say those people coming to the country in order to commit crime can be turned away at the border. This woman, and I admit it's low level, but she never goes anywhere without committing some form of a crime, whether that be an illegal protest, whether that be throwing something, whether that be some sort of disruption or whatever. Now,
doing a bad dance.
No, OK, I accept that she's not going to, you know, lone wolf attack in Belfast, right? But at the same time...
It's not conducive for the public good,
At the same time, she is somebody who has a solid track record of committing crimes on every visit to every country she makes, and yet she's allowed in.
Yeah, and I think her campaigning methods are, as you said, illegal, and there are many other ways of campaigning for your cause in a legal and peaceful way. And I mean, maybe she does the peaceful part, but not the legal part, and that's something the government need to look at.
But they've got people breaking the laws in the government now, so they don't really care about that.
I also think it was a grotesque insult to Gaza, to the people of Gaza, to the people fighting, the IDF soldiers fighting to free Gaza from Hamas. I think to turn up with a boat with no aid to get a selfie, I thought was just distasteful. You know, when you've got people, I mean, you know, in the doo-doo, trying to sort it out, that there is a problem with a lack of food because Hamas are stealing the aid and all this sort of thing, and to run a crass publicity stunt like that, I really think nobody should take any notice of her. If she wanted to try and get aid through, she should have gone through the proper process.
She never had aid. It was all just a big publicity.
And this is, you know, this is the key point, is that there are proper channels to actually try and facilitate aid donation.
I mean, the reality is everybody agreed on the same point, didn't they? It's not a lack of food; it's the fact that people are not getting it. Right? And the Israelis were quite rightly pointing out, the more food aid we give, the more Hamas get fat and the starvation continues. So all we're doing is feeding the soldiers that are prolonging the war. And she turns up in a boat with no aid and a group of people to get photos with whoever. Just what a joke.
Yeah, I think this is the problem with charitable activities today, is that it's not as efficient as it should be, and it often tends to be for public image. Yeah. And actually, I wish we
look at Amnesty International.
I wish we returned to days where charities actually did collect all that money and do something substantive with it. But sadly, they don't.
They've all been taken over, haven't they? I mean, I saw the daughter of the man who started Amnesty saying how it's all, you know, been taken over basically and changed its whole philosophy, really. And that's happened with all of them.
It's all being spent on public affairs and lobbying, and I just, you know,
I mean,
why
what many of these charities do effectively is lobby for their own bailout from the government, and it's just a circular thing. And the government goes, "Oh, look, you know, all the charitable sector agree." Yeah, because you're literally paying them to say it.
Yes.
I mean, it's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, circular lobbying has become a real issue, not just in the UK, but in Canada as well. And I think many think tanks have written plenty about that, where the government funds organisations to advocate for a particular cause, and then those organisations spend that same money to actually lobby the government for more funding. So this is a classic circle of sort of propping up more and more money.
Just like a Ponzi scheme again.
Well, just to, you know, just for image and reputation and sort of to push messages.
That's what it's all about now. They don't really care about what they're doing.
I'll tell you something. Oh, sorry.
We've got a little video, have we, of an image here. This is Greta Thunberg in Belfast with kneecap in.
Oh yes.
I mean, I do think something. Look, you know, people have asked me about my Northern Irish past. You have to remember, my family are from Northern Ireland. I'm born in England. I'm not a great expert on it, and I wouldn't seek to pontificate to the people of Northern Ireland. But it does strike me that after the troubles which forced my family to leave, you know, these kneecap people, look. You know, it is a free country, they have a right to do what they do, but I cannot understand why anybody finds, you know, the disablement of innocent members of the public amusing. Because kneecapping is designed to smash your kneecap so hard that you are no longer able to walk afterwards. What is funny and charming about that?
Indeed, and what I don't get is why all these causes seem to be lumbered up together. So, you know, what does... I don't know, a united Ireland have to do with the Palestinian movement?
Well,
or
they supplied each other terrorist weapons, didn't they?
Maybe, but I just don't understand this sort of lumbering all these causes into one thing.
That's been for years, hasn't it?
I'll tell you something. I've said this before, and I'd say it very genuinely. If I was fighting the Israelis in Gaza, it would be a battle to force them to have it. Because the number one thing I would want if I lived in Gaza was to not live in Gaza. And I mean, it's like, oh, this is our land. It's a dump. Well, it's a dump.
It could be nice.
It's horrible. But it's not, though, is it? No. It's not. It's awful.
Anyway, Mike Salem is here. Salem's like, we're going through all the papers, and we're going to talk... They're trying to have a go at pubs again in the metro. They're going to want to stop us standing at the bars. So we're going to take a little break, and we're going to be talking about that and going through all the papers. 03444 499 1000 if you want to chat to us a bit later. We'll be back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. Mike, let's ask the most dishonest question in British media, which is, what have you noticed in the papers today?
I think...
So just to understand what you do then, you look down and read whatever's in front of you.
Yes.
So we'll do it again. We'll do it again.
Let me think.
So this is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. Mike, what have you spotted in the papers today?
Oh, excellent question. I think my main takeaway is the sitting room only at pubs.
And that's the front page of the Metro, is it?
Indeed. What a shocking surprise, yes.
And how did you pick that snow?
Indeed. Well, I just read what was in front of me. I mean, obviously, it's not in our culture to have sitting room only at pubs.
Well, this story is that Westminster want to ban people going to a bar, so you have to sit at the table, and ban people standing up, which, when you go out on a sunny evening, there's hundreds of people outside some of the bars standing up after work. They want to stop that. I mean, that would ruin the business. They're really just having to go at pubs, wherever they can. 'Cause it's a bit like the old version of social media, where people would discuss things. They tried to ban outdoor smoking. They're just trying to shut down the British way of life.
So just to be clear, just to dovetail onto that, Asher and I are convinced, and this is, you know, people say we're not conspiracy theorists. We are conspiracy theorists on this.
Yeah.
We genuinely believe that there has been an effort to deconstruct the infrastructure of working class England, whether that be the church, whether that be the pub, whether that be,
where you congregate, basically, because they're controlling social media, and this is where, in the past, people have met in the town square or at the pub, and this is where it all forms. And there's people now saying, if you're going to do a protest, whatever you do, don't do it online, because then you get the, renter mob going down there. Do it through just chatting to people and do it through those means. And I think that's why they're having to go at the pubs.
I think I have sympathy for the idea that perhaps the security services might want to break people congregating, because that's a risk for them to.
They did it with the community. What was it? The criminal justice bill or whatever? And rave times in the 90s.
But I think that the issue here is control. Sadly, the government seems to be wanting to control more and more of our everyday life.
Exactly.
What to eat, what to do.
But what to talk? Who to talk to?
For goodness sake, standing up in a pub, it's not.
Can I tell you my story about Westminster City Council?
Yes.
I used to be a press officer. This is the worst story ever. It's a disaster. It's good news that I've not worked there for a very long time. So anyway, what happened was this. I was the press officer at Westminster City Council for licensing and children's services.
Oh, okay.
Right. literally, nothing ever happened in children's services. I used to go for a meeting once a week with the head of the children's services department, and she would just update me on what's going on, and then I'd leave, and that was it. Until one of Westminster's residents, one Madonna, decides to adopt a child from Malawi.
Oh.
Right, now, in order to adopt a child legally, you have to adopt it. You have to have a private adoption. Now, let me be clear. Nobody had suggested that Madonna hadn't done this. The issue was that she had multiple homes, and they were trying to work out where she'd done the private adoption. The Westminster City Council have to confirm she's done it, but she could have done it in like 8 different places. So anyway, also, I'm the person that issues the licences for you to film in the City of Westminster. So I'm getting phoned day and night from people trying to film outside Madonna's house to see this baby from Malawi. Right. And also, we're trying to work out her private adoption. Anyway, I got into the office one morning, and this girl from the Evening Standard, this absolutely true, this story, phoned me up, and from the Evening Standard went, Andre, listen, my editor knows we know each other. Can you give me anything on this Madonna thing? I said, I can't comment on children's services. It's all confidential. And she went, well, look, has Madonna done this right? I said, listen, this is one of the richest couples in London. Her mother-in-law is the head of children's services at Kensington Chelsea Council. What is the chance that they've got it wrong? And she went, what if she has got it wrong? And I went, well, she'd be liable to the same rules as anybody else. And they went, what's that? And I went, 5 years in prison, unlimited fine. And then I went, but no, that is not what's going to happen. And they went, no, thank you, Andre. I went, no. So this was 8 o'clock in the morning, and I thought, the first edition of the Evening Standard comes out at 2 at Victoria. And I thought, I walked down, and on every A board it says, "We'll jail Madonna," says Westminster Council official. I was like, oh my God. So I get back into the office, and it said, our source, who is a senior official in the Children's Services Department, which helped me a little bit.
Yeah.
My boss called me into the office. Mr. and Mrs. Ritchie are now suing Westminster City Council for defaming them, and if they're listening now, do sincerely apologise. So they said, then my boss calls me and he goes, Andre, what do you think of this front page? I went, Robin, I'm as disgusted as you are. And he went, some people in this department think you're responsible. I went, how dare you? And he went, unbelievably, the head of Children's Services thinks you're marvellous and has asked you to head the leak inquiry. And I went, right, and he went, get down to the department, hang around for a few weeks, then exonerate everyone and count yourself very lucky. I went, no problem, Robin, you can rely. I didn't last very long. I didn't last very long after that.
This is a classic Yes Minister sketch where the person who's leaking ends up heading up the leak inquiry.
In fairness, I didn't tell them that I was going to jail Madonna. They just put... Anyway.
Well, you've learnt your lesson from the media, how tricky the media can be pretty early on.
I have to say, to any of you who are taxpayers in Westminster, I think you had to settle out of court. Sorry about that. OK, let's get to the Telegraph.
The Daily Telegraph: Tories end social housing for foreigners. Kemi Badenoch has pledged to evict foreign nationals from council housing under plans to end Britain's status as a cash machine for the world. They reject almost 230,000 non-EU foreign national households. What about the EU ones? What about all of them? The people who haven't contributed, why should they be getting social housing or even benefits?
There is no way that she's going to be allowed to do this, is there?
Well,
I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. If you are coming to Britain and you can't afford to live in Britain, you should return to your country of origin.
I mean, it already is the case. I don't know, you know, when you apply for a visa, as I have to this country, you have to show bank statements of the last 5 years.
No, if you're in asylum, someone will come over.
That's what irritates me. Every time we get more border jumpers, we make it harder for the legitimate people.
Yeah,
we have another 5 pages.
So for me, I'm still a bit in limbo because I thought there is enough legislation or requirements now where you have to show you're earning a certain amount. For example, if you're planning to bring your spouse to this country, you have to earn over £38,000 a year, I think, or it has gone up a bit. So there are requirements already to sustain yourself.
But I was looking at this Gaza ruling. So this man or woman, by the way, when we're talking about people in the immigration courts, we don't know many details about them. But this person comes over from Gaza to get some medical treatment and sues under the European Convention on Human Rights to say that we have to have all 18 members of her family or his family with them. Now, my reading of that ruling is this, that if then any of those 18 members of her family have family themselves, they can sue for exactly the same reason. And then if any of those members of the family can... Yeah. Because if you say anyone who comes to Britain under any circumstance has the right to bring all their relatives, then you would have to say that...
The wife can now bring her brother, and then he can bring his wife, and then she can bring her mother-in-law.
Well, that would be consistent with the ruling, wouldn't
exactly,
it?
Well, this is how I think refugee applications work anyway. So if you look at Germany, for instance, someone comes over and then they do a request, I don't know what you call it in English, but sort of request to bring your family with you after you've lived in
but that's not viable, is it, with the way it is at the moment?
Well, I mean, people have been bringing people over.
Well, I mean, under the current rules, there are 1.5 million people who are within 5 years they're going to get permanent leave to remain. Under this rule, they will all be able to bring as many relatives as they can, as they want, effectively. And that includes, by the way, people that they consider to be relatives because they're so close to them, it's almost like they have a familial bond. 5 people each, 10 people each, 15 people each? You know, are we about to get a further... 15 million people.
And why should you get benefits? You know, you should just have to pay for yourself what you haven't paid into the system.
Well, I think this issue has been so much in the public view and immigration has become such a priority now to the public that I think any government that will take that on and actually encourage more people to come in will just be shooting itself in the foot. So I think the British public has made it clear that they want stricter control on the number of people coming in.
Well, we've been doing that for decades.
Not quite.
But, Mike, all that's going to happen is educated, articulate taxpayers like you will not be allowed in. That's all that's going to happen.
Well, indeed.
I'm telling you, the penniless Bangladeshi marrying their first cousin will be welcomed with open arms.
And I think that is something for...
Let's live in the real world. People might be offended by that, but let's live in the real world. There is no suggestion whatsoever that we're going to put any real curtailment onto people coming over on small boats. Certainly not by this government. And we continue emptying Kashmir into Birmingham?
Well, because immigration law has become so complicated that it's hard for those who are trying to abide by the law to actually abide by it, and actually it's much easier for people to come to this country illegally and get all that treatment.
Well, I always give the example of my friend Sasha, who she flew to Heathrow Airport. You'll love this one, Mike. She flew to Heathrow Airport. They opened up a bag and they went, "Excuse me, you've got all your beautician equipment as if you're working in London, and you haven't got a return flight, and you're saying that you're staying in a flat which you rent. We think that you work as a beautician in Knightsbridge. We're going to deny you entry to the UK." And she said, "Am I allowed to pick which country you're sending me to?" And they went, "Yes, you are." She said, "Can you please send me to Dublin?" And they sent her to Dublin, and she got the ferry to Liverpool. I mean, she was only 6 hours late. I mean, that was the sum total of the defence of our nation. She just got the ferry.
Oh, goodness me. Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. But I think on this particular topic, I think the greatest difficulty that the civil servants are going to say, well, define a foreigner and define British, because, you know, anyone...
Not born here.
Well, anyone can get British nationality, but...
Yeah, but that would say a British national.
Yeah,
you have to be a British national.
Yeah, but you can get nationality through naturalisation, which is what I did, so...
Yeah, but you wouldn't be a British national, would you?
No, you wouldn't be born in the British...
You've got to be born to be a British...
No, British nationality is based on citizenship, and you are a citizen of the United Kingdom.
So it's not birthright. You don't get it through... I mean, you can get it through birthright.
I mean, let's just be clear.
Well, that's what it should be.
Let's just be clear. If you, and I know you wouldn't, but if you were to commit a terrorist attack, what they would say is a British national has been arrested. Right. The fact that you're from Syria...
Hang on. It depends which media outlet you're talking to, firstly, I think. If you're talking to The Guardian, they might say British national. If you're talking to the more right-wing British media, they would say Syrian.
A Syrian-born British national.
And then, because we have a precedent with Shamima Begum, I'd be stripped of my British nationality.
Don't worry, we'll look after you.
And I'd be deported back to Syria. But then I can claim that I'll be persecuted for being a Christian, and I can stay.
I think in reality, I mean, I've got to say one thing about your if you were stripped of your citizenship. I mean, at least you'd be telling the truth that Christians are persecuted in Syria.
Well, indeed,
I mean, there was a guy who texted us the other day who said the number of gay people in my mosque. I mean, it was just, they're just all just saying it.
Yeah.
Anyway, Asher, I think we need to go to
we've got to let go of a break. 03444991000. We're going through the papers. Mark Dolan's next if you're listening in the morning, and we're going to talk about the Tories.
Ian Collins, apparently.
Ian Collins, all right. Ian Collins, in the morning.
Yes.
A bit of a shake-up. And we'll be coming back with the Tories push to stop the release of the police killers. We'll be back. It's Talk with Andre and Ash and Mike Salem after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, this is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Mike Salem. All right, what's next?
Well, we carry on with the Telegraph. You're a big Spider-Man fan, and there on the front is Tom Holland. His dad was a friend of the show, used to come on, Dominic Holland, the comedian, similar sort of looking guy, but now he manages his son and just basks in his son's glory. But there he is at the premiere. Do you like Spider-Man?
Well,
You're
big
sort
fan
of a
is
physique.
exaggeration.
I bet you got the suit at home, the pyjamas.
Well, I've got it under my suit. I'm ready to pounce. You know,
I knew he'd
just London Bridge. You know, I hear something going on. Just
you're
get
out
ready.
there,
yes.
man.
So if you hear something going on at London Bridge, you rip your clothes off. I mean, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. I mean, it's entirely welcome to do.
If I hear there's a hate crime going on, you know, I
get naked.
He got married. He got married, Tom Holland, to who is it? Zendaya.
Zendaya, yes.
Who's Zendaya?
She's another actress, and they both were in the Spider-Man film.
In Surrey.
Yes, I saw it over the weekend.
Did you watch? You watched Spider-Man? Why?
I thought it was okay. I mean, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I thought
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
They didn't have that one, sadly. Yes.
That was we grew up with that one.
Yeah, well,
The
so did I.
cartoon.
Yes, I was a bit behind on Spider-Man, but I grew up on that one. But yeah, I gave it a 7 out of 10, to be honest. I thought, you know, the character development was okay. The script writing was a bit weak, I thought.
Was it woke? Because they do all these woke ones now.
It wasn't too woke.
They have Spider-Woman now.
Yes, yeah, and then they had Supergirl, didn't they, lately in the cinemas as well?
Do you know what I'd like? Do you know we talk about woke films and whatever? I would love, forget James Bond, there have been so many absolutely superb female spies. Right, you know, these real old sort of battle axe type women.
Oh, the Russian one with the thing in his shoe.
No, like Baroness Trumpington and people like that. Right. No, okay. James Bond was all about sort of jumping around and all that sort of thing. But actually, the women in the intelligence service quite often are more interesting.
Well,
like there was that little old lady who they used to always dispatch her because she seemed harmless and she was Britain's
most lethal,
And this is the thing. I was at an exhibition today at the Royal Geographical Society. They were doing one on Gertrude Bell. And she's a very interesting person. She's the equivalent of Lawrence of Arabia in the Middle East. And she's a British, you know, she was a British woman born to a very affluent family, very interested in archaeology, history. And she went all around the Middle East, Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, discovering and actually correcting many outdated maps, giving the British intelligence during the war about the different tribes and, you know, analysing the situation, correcting the maps for the British soldiers. So she was a very interesting person. I would love to see a movie about her. And actually, it wouldn't be so sort of still show female empowerment, but also shows a sense of love for your country.
But wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be better instead of going, let's have a female James Bond, to actually find one of these really interesting female spies who I actually think, in many respects, are more interesting than James Bond.
There were loads of British ones, weren't there?
Hundreds
What was her name? Calamari? No, that's squid, isn't it?
Calamari. Oh, here she is, Miss Calamari. I mean, octopus.
She smells of fish.
Oh, very good, yeah.
Right,
no, but Gertrude Bell is really good. I highly recommend that people read
So
about
where's this
Gertrude
exhibition on?
Oh, it's in the Royal Geographical Society. But just read up generally about Gertrude Bell. And I think I advocate Hollywood. Please,
Gertrude
Hollywood.
Bell?
Do a film about her, yes.
Yeah, they should do.
She's lovely, yes.
I've got a mate who's roped me in. He's written a play about gay domestic abuse.
Oh, dear.
I'm going on Saturday. That'll be a laugh a minute, won't it?
Yes.
I was trying to get Right Said Fred to come, but he refused.
Yes, well...
There's no link there, is there?
No, there is no link. But look, I met this guy in Ukraine, and he's written a play, and I thought I'll go along, but it's not going to be a laugh a minute, is it? You know, two gay people beating each other up.
There might be the odd funny bit, you know.
Yes, well...
Well, tell us all about it when you do go.
Yeah, I look forward to invite me back.
I'll tell you what we'll do.
We'll get a review of it, yeah.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll get a review of it tomorrow. Do you reckon, is it on tomorrow or whatever day's on?
I don't know.
OK.
Anyway, Tories push to stop release of Police Killers. The Tories will attempt to block the early release of PC Andrew Harper's Killers in a parliamentary vote. The party is preparing an amendment to Labour's Sentencing Act 2026 that would exclude criminals convicted of the manslaughter of an emergency worker from the early release scheme, because because they were convicted actually of manslaughter. I think they probably murdered him. I think they knew that he was on the back and he was screaming and everything, but they couldn't prove that beyond a reasonable doubt, which is why they got manslaughter. I think they're going to release the two that were in the back of the car who were mocking it and laughing at the cameras. That should have been in a contempt. That should have stopped their release anyway, the way they were smiling and mocking. Matthew Barber, the Police and Crime Commissioner in Thames Valley, has drafted an amendment for senior Tories to bring before MPs when Parliament returns next month. What are your views on that? I mean, it's horrendous. Letting out killers and rapists.
I'll tell you what, I've had my arguments in my time with Matthew Barber, who was a contributor on this show until I angered him. I have to say, he is one of the very few police and crime commissioners who just gets up and does things. I remember that time when his own force said that a woman had raped another woman, and he said, no, it's a man, right? And I think, and he's challenged things multiple times. I actually think, of the people that I know in policing, I actually think that Matthew Barber may well be the one person with the gumption to actually stop this release.
Yeah, I mean, he's my local police and crime commissioner, so I keep tabs on his communication. It's very effective. He tells you exactly what he's been up to. And I think clarity is very important, transparency is very important, especially at a time where the trust in police, whether it is on the right or on the left of politics, is at an all-time low.
I agree.
So being clear and effective in your communication is very important.
But the one thing, look, I mean, I think there's a debate about the extent to which the College of Policing should be abolished and the way that they've destroyed things and the idea that the Home Secretary is going to be overbearing. But I will say one thing. There's always going to be a role for a young man or woman to run up and try and stop a quad bike being nicked. And ultimately, whatever you think of the behaviour of some police forces and some police officers, Andrew Harper had no dog in that hunt. And I think... And I'm going to rebuke my own audience because I put a video up saying that we should stop his killers from being released, and it's fair to say that the majority of the commenters said the police deserve what they get after what they've done. I do not accept that. I think that's entirely wrong, and I think...
we need more police like him, because he was actually on holiday. He was just about to go on holiday and the call came in and he went there and they were nicking a van and his leg got caught in it, and it was horrendous, the story. And I do not believe for one second that I didn't know he was hanging off the back, which is what they said.
Well, indeed. But look, at the end of the day, legally, Parliament is sovereign, so it is... If Parliament...
Yeah, but the Home Secretary told the police college to get rid of these things, and they said, no, we're not doing it. How have we got to that stage where the Home Secretary can be refused by the College of Police?
But you're about to make the point that I made. You can simply pass a one-line piece of legislation saying these people are in prison for life. Yeah. By the way, you're right. Who are the College of Police? Do you know what we should do?
Quango.
I'll tell you what we're going to do, Adam. Right. I think we should get a camera, go to the College of Policing, stick a camera in the face and go, who are you? Who appointed you? I've never heard of you. Nobody in your have never heard of you. Oh, I know, democracy is not popular with you.
Don't say his name, or else he's going to have to play the tape.
That was an impersonation of me.
Very good.
Do you know, I got a phone call one day because I described the Association of Chief Police Officers as an illegal trade union. Right. They phoned me up and they said, we don't think you should do that. We think you're going to get in trouble. I said, says the illegal trade union. Put the phone down. Put the phone down.
Yes.
Fear of Burnham tax rise prompts £1.6 billion stock market sell-off. UK investors pulled £1.6 billion from stock market funds last month amid fears that Andy Burnham will put up taxes. The amount withdrawn from equity funds in July was the biggest since October and November last year, when investors dumped shares in the run-up to Reeves' autumn budget. According to... It was the fifth worst month for equity fund withdrawals in the last 11 years. So people are pulling it out, expecting the economy to, well, collapse soon.
Buy the dip, eh?
Right,
Buying the dip.
By the way, I just want to talk about this story, but let's not mention the person. So look, I like Charlie Downs very much, and he's come on this show a number of times. But
well, what does your co-presenter Julia make of him? Because she had him on.
Some of these people in Restore are going too far. I mean, reform has been taken over by Jews, says Charlie Downs. I mean, what's he on about? He's a nice bloke. He wasn't like that when he came.
No. No, it's a very odd thing. It's one of those.
I mean,
Well,
maybe
I haven't
maybe
seen
he's been
tropes.
maybe he's been taken out of context. Or whatever.
Indeed, I haven't seen. I was
By
going
the
to
way,
say.
don't name the person in
No, of
Reform.
course, I haven't seen the particular tweet by Charlie, so I can't sort of make a comment about it. But I think many people are not happy with Reform.
I mean, look, it also has a go at him for saying he's concerned that white British people will be in a minority in 50 years. I have to say to you, I think we get this completely wrong. Look, it's not about white British people. It's about the fact that demonstrates the change in our society. Nobody's bothered about white people. When you see Robert Jenrick walking down the street saying there are no white people here, he's not fundamentally bothered whether there are no white people there. What he's saying is, given that this is supposed to be a majority white, who are these people? And actually, in reality, it's just they're trying to make the point that it's symptomatic of mass immigration. It's not that he gives a toss fundamentally about white people. I've always said quite clearly, I think people from the Caribbean will find it easier to integrate into British society than somebody from France. And France is far closer, simply because they do GCSEs, they speak English, the Church of England.
The culture is different, the laws, the norms.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you view the government, the constitution versus the pragmatism of it?
In fact, I genuinely think that part of the problem with our country is when we saw people from the Caribbean successfully integrating, we believed that was evidence that somebody from Afghanistan would find it as easy to integrate, and it's just not true.
Indeed, and I think you touch on a very important point. But as for here, the Restore, I mean, again, I haven't seen the particular tweet, and I think we need to be careful.
I've just realised something before we go to the break. This hairdo is awful, isn't it? It's disappearing.
Yeah,
it is.
We'll be back with a new hairdo.
No, it's dreadful.
Can you do it next 2 minutes?
I look like the Lego man. Right, I'm not. That's getting chopped tomorrow. Right, go to the break.
Yeah, let's go to the break and come back with a new hairstyle. It's Talk with Andre Nash and Mike Salem going through the papers.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, how'd you like the back, sir? Is that all right? Yeah.
Look, have you...
I've given you the Ray Reardon, like you asked
The
for.
problem is you've turned me into Hannibal Lecter. Right?
Yeah, well, it's a good look, isn't it?
Well,
it's a good look, you know, people won't mess with you.
Very makeshift, I like
Hello,
it.
Clarice. Yeah, I think I look a bit like Hannibal Lecter, although I have to say...
I like it's taken years off you.
I have to say, the number of comments about my Lego Man hairdo, and also, I'll tell you what, right?
Hairdo.
I can't win. This is my natural colour. When people go, I liked your blonde, it wasn't blonde, it was white.
That's what he was born with.
Let's just be clear.
He was born with this biscuity colour.
I wasn't born with it, was I?
Very good.
The Times, fraud alert over loans to foreign students. Basically, a fifth of loans go to foreign students, millions and millions of pounds, and then they just leave the country and we never see a penny of it back. It's a ridiculous situation.
Just to be clear, if you get a student loan, you will pay it back and a foreigner will not.
Yeah.
Well, you don't pay it back. It gets wiped off after 30 years if you're on the plan.
Yeah, if you don't get a good job, yeah. About 1 in 5 student loans are now being given to non-British citizens, ridiculous, which risks costing the taxpayer billions of pounds a year in unpaid debt. Researchers found that in the past year, foreign students received about $4 billion in tuition fees and maintenance loans, about 20% of the total lending under the scheme, which is ridiculous. It's obviously that is one thing that's got to stop, isn't it?
Yeah, well, again, define British.
I mean, of course, the other point to make is that assumes they're going to leave the country after they graduate, which
because
there's really very little evidence of.
So actually, the student finance system is not whether it's foreign or British, it's whether you're home or international. And the criteria for home students is if you've lived in this country for 3 years before going to university. So even though I didn't have British nationality at the time I applied for my student loan, I still got the home fees.
But he's not done a runner.
This is new to me. So did you pay UK fees rather than international?
You pay UK fees if you've lived in the UK 3 years before you apply for student finance,
yeah.
and you have settled status, I think.
It's about $9,000 a year, isn't it?
Instead of the international fee that is set independently.
How much
by
is that then?
It depends by university. So
and they get loans for that whole larger amount if you're foreign student.
No, I don't think. I'm not sure. It's just they decide.
No, I think international students just pony up the full amount, don't they?
Indeed. So I'm not really sure what's trying to be said here, because even if you, as a home student who got a student loan, you leave the country and work abroad.
Yeah, that is true. Well, it says here 25% less likely to repay their loans.
Just to make it really simple for everybody, because it is taken back in your paycheck. If you're paying, if you are not paying, if you're not paying in the UK, then you're not paying.
No, so they don't. If you're working abroad as a British national, if you're like a Anglo-Saxon Brit who studied in this country and works in America, you don't pay back your student loan because you're living in America, you're abroad. And again, as I said, the definition of home versus international depends on how many years you've lived in the UK.
But hang on a second. If I was from I don't know if this applies to Northern Ireland. If I was from Northern Ireland, all I would do is just get a job in the Republic and therefore never pay it back.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you live in Ireland.
That's what you should have done, man. Oh, darn it.
Yeah.
Also in the Times, number 10 show Blokey Burnham the red card. Andy Burnham has been told to tone down his blokish videos by number 10 social media experts. Team Burnham are receiving daily reports from the unit, which includes experts in data and social media analytics. Last week they advised...
I'll tell you what. If you are an expert in blokey data analytics on social media at number 10, I would advise you to get a different job.
They said he's got to limit the number of references to football and the pub in an attempt to appeal to a broader audience. You see, they're trying to have a go at the working classes again. The Soaraway son, Spidey, hitched at Country Pile. Tom and Zendaya tie knot again in secret £500,000 bash at the UK hotel. Where was my invite, Dominic? We go back years.
Yes.
IV Web. That is the headline, and that's in the Soaraway Sun.
Do you know I get invited to the Met Gala every year?
Do you?
I do, every year.
We must go.
I'll tell you why. Because there are 2 Andre Walkers who worked at the New York Observer. One is a fashion designer and the other one is me. I get. Do you know what? One year I might actually go, because the Met Gala is literally one of the most prestigious events.
I don't know why you haven't gone.
Well, it's because when I walk in, I'm not a black guy. They're going to start wondering.
Okay, take me as your token minority.
It reminds me of. Do you remember the Vicar of Dibley when Reg Dwight was Alice's cousin?
Yeah.
And he went, sometimes I get confused with Elton John.
My mate Piers got got a Nando's card, which enabled him to go to Nando's with 4 mates every day for life, and he thinks they thought he was Piers Morgan. Anyway, also in the Sun, 600,000 back petition on PC. More than 600,000 people have signed the petition demanding PC Andrew Harper's killers are kept in jail, so go and sign the petition. That's been supported by the Sun. The Financial Times, EasyJet accepts $5.7 billion Apollo offer in latest foreign swoop. You see, a lot of these foreign companies now, it's bargain basement time for British companies, and we're getting our bones are getting picked by the vultures around. The business people, they're just taking our stuff as usual.
Yeah, because they're much richer than us. We don't create a business-friendly environment, so I don't see anyone wants to own a business in this country.
They're undervalued as well, a lot of our firms.
Do you know what made me laugh? I was watching on YouTube, and I just thought it was laughable. And Britain is going to be an AI hub. What with energy at that price?
Yeah,
I mean, it's
never
just
going to happen.
You know, I've got this AI thing, and it's already kind of limiting me because now I only pay 20 quid and it's whatever. I mean, with Ed Miliband, it'd be 50 quid per search, wouldn't it? You know, like, oh, we'll be an AI super hub, will we? Literally, because one day it's gonna cost us to turn your light on about 20 quid a time.
Well, Ed Miliband's now Foreign Secretary, so we'll have to see what happens there.
Yeah, well, I reckon she's worse, the energy.
Ashley says Harvey Nicks in a death spiral as he sticks on £40 million price tag. Mike Ashley says so you can buy Harvey Nicks if you want. Colombian narco fighters using drone warfare lessons to fight from Ukraine.
Oh my God!
Everyone's learning about the new type of warfare,
drones,
aren't they?
Yes, goodness me.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, well.
It's going to change it everywhere.
Look, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't say this, but I had a friend who did something very, very bad in Ibiza. He made an order and it came by drone to his villa.
I've seen those. Yeah, Amazon are doing all that sort of thing.
Yeah, like Amazon.
It drops it, doesn't it?
Like Amazon.
I have a friend in the Marines who, you know, his dream was to die valiantly on the battlefield in a good old-fashioned way, but now his nightmare is just being chased by one of these drones. And
well, 8 out of 10 Russians are being killed by drones.
I got a drone inside the house. My mum went, it's like a big wasp.
Yeah.
They are amazing, aren't they?
Yeah.
Incredible
I mean, it's terrifying for an actual infantry because, you know, you'd be screwed quite quickly.
Well, you see the blokes running and then
there's not much they can do. There's no point running because it picks you up. Yeah.
OK, The Guardian, Cambridge unleashed grotesque racism with our day appointment. Unbelievable what's happened there. But anyway, we're not really going to have time to talk about that because coming up...
By the way, I want to congratulate Jason Arday. 30 marathons in 31 days with
incredible.
The
and a professional footballer, professional snooker player, incredible stuff.
He's like Kim Jong-il.
Sounds nearly as good as I am. Yes.
Anyway, so stay tuned if you're listening in the morning because Ian Collins is waiting for you. There he is, Ian Collins, looking resplendent. Look at his beautiful hair. OK, we're back in the ring.
Talking of beautiful hair, what do we think of mine?
Yeah, I mean, I nearly gave you a life jacket. You're drowning in so much water, but that was a very good makeshift solution.
It was. But I just looked at it and I thought, all day I've been mocked and ridiculed for this.
Yes. So why not carry it on?
Well, very good, yes.
I have to say this, Jason Arday, he just... I will tell you one thing. I would buy Jason Arday a pint, and also I think the man's a legend because he has just made up... he's just unbelievable.
Apparently he drinks 30 pints a night. He's amazing. He can drink more than anyone.
Unbelievable.
Incredible.
I ran 30 marathons in 31 days.
With a broken leg and his arm amputated. It was incredible stuff what he could do. Anyway, you're going to stay with us a bit, aren't you?
Yes.
So that's Mike's going to stay with us.
So after this, I think you're going to do a brewery.
Oh, and I'm going to interview someone very important about brewery. 03444 1000. It's Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, welcome to this very special edition of Ask Ash. It's not just about advice. You can call in and ask my advice. I'll give you unqualified advice, but there's no weight, no charge. But it's a very important announcement. It's International Beer Day. Now, Mike stayed with us, and we've got a beer brewery man, a man who owns a brewery with us. He's brought a selection of beers in, and also the Talk Sport beer that's being promoted and is being sold at Meantime, Fuller's Meantime. Anyway, let's say hello to Mike again, and Andre Walker, who owns a brewery.
Andre Walker, yes. Let me tell you.
I think we've met before.
Let me. Unfortunately, yes. Before I had the Hannibal Lecter hairdo, Hannibal Lecter. Let me tell you something. I am a shareholder in my local brewery, the Windsor and Eton Brewery. I'm incredibly proud of that. And what we're going to do is we're going to try some beers from the Windsor and Eton Brewery. Now, what I'm going to
and the Talk Sport
and the Talk Sport one. Now, what I'm going to tell you is this. The boss of Talk is called Denny Morris, and he wanted to try some beer from the Windsor and Eton Brewery. So I bought him these cans, gave them to him, and I've now stolen them.
Yeah, well, you're bringing another load.
But I think he'll feel that we need a proper segment here. My hair looks.
Can you name those beers? Your beers in the cans.
Okay, so this one is a West Coast IPA. Right, should we open this? And
yeah, but it's called what? Treason. I mean, I like the labels. They're like,
look at that. Look at that bad boy. Oh, there you go. There you go, Asher.
Do they have a widget inside?
Have a bit of that.
Would you like some beer with that?
So let's give Asher some head.
Now that is fruity.
There we go. So I think this one's going to be very hoppy, isn't it?
So where's the brewery? You said it's in Windsor?
The brewery is in Windsor, and the most famous thing I would say about the brewery is that they're suppliers of beer to Windsor Castle, to the King and the previous Queen. They've got the Royal Warrant, but the other thing is they also make the rarest beer in the world.
Do they? Okay.
Which is Russian Imperial Stout, originally brewed as a gift from the royal family to Catherine the Great. They didn't invent it in the Windsor and Eton Brewery, but they are the people that still make it. And last year, 27 bottles were released to the public.
Well, I mean, as a professional Tsar Nicholas II lookalike, I got to try this Russian stout.
This is very hoppy. This is very hops, very nature. You can really taste the nature in that.
I've got to tell you something. I mean, it's of such a high quality, and now you can get such good quality beer. Should we go on now to the Mandarin? Next. This is a winter.
What's that called? Show the label to the camera, because there are great labels on these beers.
This is a winter ale.
And it's got Mandarin notes in it, has it?
I think it has, yeah. I don't know why this is all going quite badly wrong, but...
Let's try a bit of that one.
Go on, then.
Oh.
Mandarin beer.
So it's got a bit of a flavour of orange in it. Can you taste that?
That's lighter. That's more like your communal garden lager.
Absolutely.
It goes down a treat. It's a winter ale, so you drink this when you're cold.
I think it's got that warming feeling, hasn't it, to it?
Yeah, it's got that more... This is very hoppy, the one before.
Yeah, it's very hoppy.
Like that.
Yeah.
Now what we're going to do...
Show the label.
This is Conqueror. This is black IPA. So this is not stout. It's
an IPA of colour. I think that's how you have to say it. Yeah.
I don't know who has thrown these cans on the floor.
Is it an African-American IPA?
No, that's like a Guinness. Is that a stout sort of thing?
No, it's not. It's a black IPA.
Right.
Which look, I'm just going to keep doing that
nowadays. Yes.
Because it's all getting very, very heady. There we go.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
getting a bit heady.
Oh. Let's get Asher on that one.
So it looks like Coca-Cola, but let's.
It does look like Coca-Cola, so it's not going to be as heavy as a proper stout.
Oh, now that does remind me of something.
Do you see what I mean? It's more like coffee.
Yeah,
it is
a bit like a Guinness. It is a bit like a Guinness.
It is a bit like a Guinness, but it's not.
Less creamy. It's not as creamy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite as creamy. Now, okay. Now here is the thing that I wanted you to try more than anything else. So, as I told you, Russian Imperial Stout. There's only 27 bottles produced a year.
Why is that?
Basically because there is one barrel, and every year they empty and they fill a few bottles in order to pay for the storage of the barrel.
But why do they only make one barrel to keep it like?
Because the idea is eventually there's going to be a 50-year-old Imperial Stout. Now, I cannot give you the Russian Imperial Stout. I don't know. But what I can do is I can give you the next best thing, which is the standard Imperial Stout.
Oh,
That is,
so what's the difference with this and the other stuff?
it's just younger. That's all.
Very good.
But this stuff.
Oh, no, no.
That is 8.5% alcohol.
I'm going to try
It's different to
straight from the
Guinness.
can.
It's like that.
It's sweeter.
Yeah, it's got like a... It's a very reminiscent taste.
I'm just thinking,
gosh.
people listening to this are going to be bored, aren't they? but
No,
anyway.
it's just...
Yeah, we're not, though.
So there you go.
Mama.
So that is
Right, yeah.
Scumbag Maggot, 8.5%. I don't approve of the name, actually. I would like
Yeah.
it to have had some sort of a Russian
So
name.
this is 8.5%. That's almost like wine.
I know that. You're driving, aren't you?
Well, that's why I'm being fair sensible, but this
So,
is...
so
yeah.
what do you reckon? What do you reckon? I think the Imperial Stout is easily the best.
Oh, this is really
Well, I
good.
quite like
This is
that
really
first
good.
one with the hop flavour.
Well, why don't I give you that? That's the Treason. That's
Thank
the
you,
West
mate,
Coast IPA. Now, the next thing we're going to have a go at is the Meantime Lager. This is...
This is a Talk Sport
It's
celebration.
not labelled as the TalkSport one, but it's
No, but
exactly the same.
it's the same, isn't it?
I think you can have that. That's the Greenwich Lager.
I've had the Talk Sport
And
one.
I think it's just... Are you going to have a little bit
Yes,
of that?
please, yes. Let's have a taste.
Yeah, that does go down a tree, actually. You can drink quite a bit of that.
I think the thing
but
is...
drink responsibly.
Look,
whatever you do.
the reality is I'm a very small shareholder in the brewery, along with a couple of hundred other people. So this is partly a joke. I don't want to take credit for the people at the brewery. But what I will say is this. I just think it's so great the way this great British industry has come back. Remember when we were younger, Asher?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
every pub sold all the same stuff.
M&B
It was all
and
awful.
Baths and
absolutely terrible. And now you've got so
Boddingtons.
much variety. And I've got to say to you, you know, there's no point in being snobby about it because many of these
It's really good, yeah.
high quality ales you're going to get in Wetherspoons.
But aren't the big brewers taking over these small brewers? Isn't that what people were moaning about? That there was the Camden one, and they all take over these micro brewers who make a big buck quickly.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's one of those things. I mean, the Windsor and Eton Brewery, I don't think would ever sell out simply because the really big shareholders, the proper people, would never want to do it. But I just think that inevitably in business, if you set up a new business and you get it to a certain size, inevitably you do sell out. But I think the drinks companies are not what they used to be. No. They now do have more of a commitment to quality, perhaps, than they did in the past. I mean, if you look at what is the one drink that's really been sort of watered down, and that's Stella Artois, and
But not in America.
The problem is, its nickname really upset the owners.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you don't want to associate your drink with domestic violence, do you?
Yeah.
I mean, just no joke.
But the funny thing about America is that when you see the Stella ads in America, they're very small portions, you know. But when you look at the
they
UK
can't handle
ads,
it, the Americans.
you see,
they can't handle it.
But
can
I
they?
think sadly also the downfall of these breweries also comes to a change in culture. I think less people are drinking, and young people nowadays are taking up more teetotal movements.
They're boring,
and,
haven't they?
I think. Look, at the end of the day, I think these cans, if you were to buy them in the Windsor and Eton Brewery shop, you know, are going to be between sort of £2.50 and £4. I think the sort of person who pays £4 for a can of beer will always exist.
Well, the 8.9% one, you need a couple of cans for the night.
I mean, that would get you absolutely shedded, wouldn't it?
I mean, it's not far from where I live, so maybe I'll stop by.
Where do you live?
I live in High Wycombe, so...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, you should pop in.
Yes,
I do a show in the day here sometimes, and then I have a big gap between, so I have a walk round. And if you go on London Bridge and you walk basically the arches, there's about 8 or 9 brewers all in these little arch micro brewers, and you can go in and buy it. So there's loads of it going on.
Oh, yeah.
And we had a spate of gin makers, didn't we? Do you remember about
Yeah, absolutely.
a couple of years ago?
I think. Look, at the end of the day, the one thing that a brewery like this, and I can't really speak for the brewery because obviously I'm only a small shareholder, but one thing that they can't do, you know, they're never going to be able to sell it as cheap as the big manufacturers. Somebody who produces Heineken, you know, they're producing millions
But this
and
is
millions.
quality. You can taste the quality, isn't it?
I think you can. I mean, a lot of love, a lot of care, and a lot of attention went into this, and they are incredibly proud of it. And I will say, the reason that they brought in the smaller shareholders like me is to have a canning plant, because previously they had to put everything in bottle.
Are you sure it's doing well?
I've got to be honest with you. I think that I think actually these shareholdings, when they do it, it is a great idea, because what happens is it brings capital into the company. You get the infrastructure that we wanted, which was a big bar. Look, I don't think they will ever pay a dividend to the small
Well,
shareholders.
look at Brewdog, because they got loads of investors and they've all been left high and dry, and the owners have made a good few.
But I think, but realistically, the small investors like me, on a serious note, have invested a few £100 each because we were told if we get this money through the door, we'll be able to sell our drinks in cans, which will be great, and we'll be able to open up a big bar.
That's lovely.
It's like a social club, basically.
Exactly
it's
that.
like a membership,
exactly that. I don't think. I mean, I don't know, but I don't think anybody invested in the thought that it was a particularly commercial investment. And we've got our names on the wall and whatever.
Oh, well, you should have told me. I mean, I like doing stuff like that. I invested in a local pub.
Are they taking on more investors, maybe?
I don't know.
Dilution?
I'm going to send this to them. I mean, hopefully,
Yes.
Will Calvert and all the guys are not going to be too offended that I
Who's well, I've heard of him,
Well,
Will
it's
Calvert. Has he been in, has he, Will?
Will Calvert,
I know
if you
him,
remember,
yeah, I know
a few
him.
years ago, I think he had I think his wife was missing in an earthquake. I think
That'll be
years
it. That'll
ago.
be it, yeah.
I might have got
Did they
that
find
completely
her?
wrong.
They
Yes,
found her?
yes. It was just the communications were down. Yes, obviously. Look, I mean, they are the proper people. They are the brewers who came up with all this. But I just think one of the things that is really great about beer and British Beer Day is that it does bring the community together, and I think people do enjoy, having a drink on a Saturday and getting together. And I think these small breweries, done well, like in Windsor and Eton, actually can help build the community.
Are there any festivals like the Munich Beer Festival? We should have something like
yes.
that. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
So you should do something for Oktoberfest.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what we do. Down the pub,
London Beer Festival.
Down the pub with Phil Dave has been filmed though. We got Right Said Fred in. Right Said Fred were drinking red wine, which was
they're amazing when they're drunk.
Maybe you should do those like pub pint and a discussion thing that GB News does, but you should do one for talk. Yes, you can do it there. You can do a segment perhaps there. Yes,
it's a segment, man.
Yeah, do you know, I might propose that.
Yeah.
Let's do it, yeah.
There we go, let's do it.
I mean, the only slight problem is, I think Asher and I would do more stuff at the Windsor and Eton Brewery. Yeah. The problem is, it is quite far for Asher to go.
Oh, that's true.
What would you recommend, like, sort of beer nuts with this? What would you recommend?
Oh, that's a good question,
I'd quite like some dry roasted nuts with this.
Do you know what I really, really love? I really love putting crisps and peanuts together and eating them at the same time.
Nothing beats pork scratchings.
I think pork scratchings. Well, he wouldn't have pork scratchings.
Oh, I would not have that.
Sorry, yes.
It's all right, I'm not offended by it, but it's the only food stuff where if you get a hair in it, it's all right. It's true, isn't it?
What's your snack of choice then? Because I think dry roast...
I'll tell you what I'm into lately, beef jerkin.
Oh, that's good as well.
What's it called? What's it called? It's got a name, a South African name, you know.
But isn't it just...
Dried meat. It's like a dried sort of... what is it called? A biltong.
Yeah, but it's just leathery.
I know, but I've been going to this gourmet place.
He's drunk.
I'm not. I've been going to this gourmet place, and if you get the good
Which
stuff.
one do you want now? Do you want
let me just finish this up and I'll have that. Thanks.
I'm not drunk.
I think. I mean, it is amazing that we've got. I'll tell you what. There's another place that I'm also a shareholder of, which is called a Hoppy Place, which is once again in Windsor and
Let's get some of them in,
branch in Maidenhead as well.
Oh, yes.
And I'll tell you what's interesting about them. I went to them during the lockdown and I got 6 cans and they charged me £30 and I was absolutely raging. I thought I'd been had. When I got home, look, 30 quid for 6 cans is a lot of money. It's not something you can do every single day at all. But I will say the quality of what they sold me was phenomenal. And I think actually... as long as you're not glugging this stuff every day, I think it's a nice thing to have.
Yeah, less is more, as I say. Less is more. What's your choice of beer?
Well, I usually
drink. Are you a spirits man?
Well, indeed, I used to be a big beer drinker. I used to like drinking beer, but then the beer belly.
But are you not brandy drinkers?
Brandy, well,
in the Middle East?
in the Middle East, you drink something called arak, which is like ouzo. Oh, it's so tasty. It's very licorice, and it's quite strong. I think it's 70%, so you have to mix it with water.
70%?
Yeah, so you've got to mix it with water. And I'll bring it next time. It's very lovely. You're going to love it.
Poutine, you know the poutine?
Oh, yeah.
That's lethal stuff, the Irish potato sort of
I'll tell you, the first run is a Class B drug.
There's also Tetri tea as well.
Tetri tea?
Yeah, that's from Russia. It's really good as well.
Anyway, Mike, a fan of yours has flooded in. The patient predator in Kent, he's a Mike Saylor Salem fan and wants Mike Salem to be on Talk more.
Oh dear. Gosh.
Hello, patient predator. That's a bit of a... in Kent, hello. Oops.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, yeah. You're through to us and Mike.
Oh, I can't hang on. Let me do this.
TV.
That's all right. What did you want to say to
Stayed
Mike?
up all night to watch this episode, and I want to make a comment about this Arak drink. It's absolutely horrendous.
Oh, Arak, I've had that, yeah. That is aniseed sort of stuff.
Yes, but I can't hear a thing, I'm afraid, so you're going to have to relay to me.
Hold on. We're just trying to sort this.
I think the worst.
The knob up. Try the other ear, please.
I think the worst drink is Norwegian aquavit. Have you ever had that?
No, but have you had Arak? Arak's pretty bad.
No.
Oh, it's lovely. I'm going to bring it with me next time.
You feel a bit rough. You have it in a shock. It's a bit like a limoncello, but without the lemon.
Well, no. You have it in a tall glass, but you do a third Arak and a 2/3 water.
Oh, I
and
see.
It tastes quite,
That's where I've been going wrong.
It's like
so basically,
Sambuca.
what you did was gloved it back.
Yeah.
It's serious stuff, that is. So what did you want to say anyway about it?
I just wanted to call and say thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been a great discussion.
We haven't had a discussion. But you've called in to discuss with us. You're through to Mike. You're a big fan of Mike.
I am too sleepy to remember what I called in to discuss. Sorry, guys.
Oh my goodness.
You're not nervous.
I can't hear
It's
much.
International Beer Day. What's your beer of choice?
My beer of choice. I don't drink beer.
What do you drink? What's your poison?
The only thing I drink is white wine.
White wine, yeah.
I like a Chablis, a bitey, lemony Chablis.
Oh, very good. Or Chardonnay is quite good.
Because Syria actually do. Syria,
Oh, yes,
there is
yes.
Syrian wine, isn't there?
Oh, very lovely Syrian wine, and also Lebanese, also very well renowned. So at the tennis club, we drink Chardonnay.
At the tennis club.
Where are you from,
I have
patient?
a question for the panel.
Oh, good.
Where was beer invented?
Where was beer
That's a good
invented?
question. I mean,
I'm gonna get
Denmark. Something like that.
Yeah. So beer is definitely Northern European.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be something like Germany, Denmark,
Belgium.
Yeah, go on. I don't know.
Where are you from then, patient professor?
It was invented in my country, actually.
Sorry?
It was invented in my country.
In Mesopotamia, is it?
Oh,
yes, exactly.
Mesopotamia.
Well
Oh, gosh.
And what's that now? That's now Iraq.
It's various countries, isn't it? Egypt, Iran, Iraq.
No, it's just Iraq. It's the area between the two.
Do you know what? I
rivers.
think I
Iraq,
actually
Iran,
knew
and
that.
Israel. Yeah.
I think I actually knew
So
that.
it was invented in Mesopotamia.
Yeah, in Sumar. Actually, I thought it was 7,000 years ago, but I looked up. It's apparently 12,000.
Apparently 12 to 13,000 years ago.
Oh, very good.
But we drank beer in this country to avoid cholera in the water.
Yeah,
Even the men, women and children, they all
Oh, well,
drank
of course,
2%.
the gin and tonic.
And
Just
to explain that, the time when people thought that sickness was a punishment by God, the Thames was so polluted that obviously if you drank the beer would be safe. But when people drank beer for breakfast, it was like 2%.
Yeah, it was porter. They called it porter, didn't they? And it was like 2%, but they drink it all day. And yeah.
Well, Samuel Pepys in his diary talks about going for his morning draft, which is a pint.
Yes. Well, I mean, Churchill, of course, famously went through heaps and heaps of beverages.
What's also interesting about Samuel Pepys is when he went to the pub, properly went to the pub, he drank pints of wine.
Pints of wine, like a mega pint of wine, like from that Amber Heard case.
I get the impression, I might be wrong, I get the impression that beer was just your kind of run-of-the-mill everyday thing.
It was your run-of-the-mill,
and if you did something special, it was a pint of wine.
Yes, quite. Well, a mega pint, as we heard from the cases of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. So that's common in today's time to have a mega pint of wine.
Here's some data. Rakafet Cave in Israel, 13,000-year-old stone mortars reveal the oldest known trace of a fermented gruel-like beer used by the Natufian culture.
Hang on a second. Is beer a type of gruel?
Is beer a type of gruel? We found out Horlicks is.
Ovaltine.
Ovaltine.
Yes. Porridge is basically
porridge. All of these, and now the Ovaltine windows open up. It's all comers are welcome. Anyway, are you staying around, Mike? Are you going?
Yeah. I think we're going to do a bit of Ask Ash.
It's Ask Ash, so get your questions, any advice you want, all kinds, but I'm not qualified, but you don't get charged and there's no waiting list, so why not give it a go?
Indeed.
And, of course, the British troubadour Bob Dylan, Graham will be on as well.
Asher.
Yeah.
I've drunk the whole can of the 8.5.
Well, you better go and have a lie down. You'll go and have a lie down. Is Mike hanging around?
I'll hang around.
With more advice with me, give us a ring. We'll be back with your advice after this.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah, it's Talk with Mike Salem and brewery owner Andre Walker. But let's go to someone who wants to talk about the Antichrist. It's Ken in London. Hi, Ken. Morning.
Good morning, Asher. Good morning. Yeah, I would like to, a lot of talk about the Antichrist. I would just like, if you'll allow me a brief time, just to explain to you a bit about this Antichrist, this coming world dictator. The Bible prophesies he's going to rise to power in the last days, and he's going to come out of a revised European Roman Empire of 10 nations. So it looks like that what we call the European Union at the moment will come down to 10. There'll be 10, and he will come out of that. Now, this man, Ash, is going to rule the whole world.
Can I interrupt for a second? I think you're slightly wrong there, Ken. Forgive me, but I actually think when the Eurozone contracts, I think that will be the 10 countries. So I don't think...
Well, isn't that what you're saying, Ken?
I don't think the European Union will decline to 10 countries.
Right.
I think the Eurozone will decline to 10 countries.
Right.
I might, I can
anyway, sorry.
Well, that fits, doesn't it, Ken? That fits your...
that's
revelation.
There's going to be a collapse in the present European situation. It's going to collapse.
Oh, we can all see that.
Into 10 kingdoms, and then he's going to come out. He's going to arise alongside them. But the thing is, the Bible teaches that possibly it will reign from Rome or Babylon. He's going to rule the whole world. He's going to have a false prophet, very possibly the Pope, who will work miracles for him. Now, this man is going to deceive the whole world. This man is coming. Things are going to get so bad in the world, they'll be a strong man.
Bad, man.
Ken, can I ask you a question? Ken, can I ask you a question?
Nothing to what's coming. This is nothing to what's coming.
Well, how should we prepare?
Ken, I want to ask you a question because I don't know if you were listening to Kieran Kelly earlier.
He never listens. He just calls in, Ken.
From the Christian Institute. And effectively what we were saying was, for the first time in my lifetime, I think the first, actually, since Margaret Thatcher, a Prime Minister has come out and said they're a Christian and actually said that they're going to defend Christian values. Are you encouraged or discouraged?
That is strange, isn't it?
Who said that?
Burnham. Because normally that would be the death knell, but it seems to be, of course...
Yeah, but nobody has been overtly Christian since Margaret Thatcher. Because you can talk about Tony Blair, but he never admitted it.
Well, but Theresa May, she used to go to church.
No, but the Lib Dem
take a photo of Theresa May outside
the Lib Dem had to resign, didn't he?
Because Tim Farron.
But if you think about Theresa May, though, she never stood up and said, I'm defending Christianity. She never said that.
That's good news if Burnham's going to do that. God bless him. God knows what's coming. But listen, let's talk about it. Just, if you don't allow me for just a couple of minutes. This is important to you and the listeners. We need to know what's coming in the future. Now, this man who's going to arise, the Antichrist, is going to be extremely intelligent and very persuasive. This is all in the Bible. And he's going to rule with world consent. He's going to be received by the world as the Saviour, the false Messiah. And he's going to do all by devilish deception and miracles. He's going to control the whole world economy, man. 666, the tracking system, it will be a chip or a tattoo in the right hand of the forehead. There's a one world order, one world economy coming, but no money. He's going to enter into a false peace treaty with Israel. Then he's going to break that false peace treaty. Then going to be the greatest persecution of Jews in history since the Second World War. He's going to try and kill all the Christians and all the Jews. This man is a personification of evil and the devil. He's going to deceive the world. I'm not a madman. I will get the scriptures to prove this, what I'm saying here. This is the man who's the world's going to look to, and the world is going to be deceived, especially Israel. Israel is going to be deceived more than anybody, sadly. Then Messiah returns, he throws the Antichrist alive.
I mean, I've got to be honest with you. The Israelis are so bloody argumentative, I doubt they could be deceived by anyone.
You get 2 Israelis, you get 3 arguments. Anyway, thanks, Ken. So that's the end of the world from Ken there. So
by the way, Asher, I'm sorry, my spelling's not great, but unsolicited is not a word.
Oh, yes, it's unsolicited, yes. Unsolicited, yes.
Let's go to Tom in Corby.
Hello?
Tom, yeah. Do you remember the Corby trouser press? That was from there, wasn't it? Yeah, I think that was invented in Corby. Tom, you want to talk about the International Beer Day?
Yes.
And you want to talk about Wetherspoons.
I love Wetherspoons.
Well, a little bit about Wetherspoons. It's because I'll just say hello to you guys because I'm a big fan. It's been a while. I haven't called in a long while.
Are you drunk?
So. No. Sorry. It's bad signal, but a bit early for International Beer Day. That'll be the morning.
Well, 28 minutes in, I'm starting to struggle.
Oh gosh. Very good.
So what did you want to have a chat to us about? Just generally say how great we were.
Well, no, that is one thing. No, it's just I'm on holiday. I'm on holiday.
What, in Corby?
No. God, you don't want to go there on holiday.
Why not? I bet there's a lot of cobblers and stuff around there. The Dr. Martens.
And every hotel room has a trouser press.
Yeah.
There's a closed down steel, well, near enough closed down
steelworks, Corby Steelworks, yeah.
Sadly.
Yeah.
So you're just left with nothing to do.
Well.
Where are you on holiday then, Tom? Where are you?
I was a silly.
Oh,
it's very
fantastic.
lovely, yeah.
Is it good? Because, I mean, it's hot here. You could have just stayed here, man.
Do you know the editor of City AM, Christian May?
Yes.
Owns the helicopter service.
Does he?
That goes to the Isle of Scilly.
Well, I'll message him on LinkedIn.
So what are you doing in Scilly, Tom? What are you doing out there?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say it's nice to say something about positive about small boats out here. That's a change for about small boats. But,
oh yes.
Yeah.
No, just come on a nice holiday break from work. But I thought I'd talk about beer and sort of Wetherspoons. I thought of a good idea because you're some of my favourite presenters. I feel like Wetherspoons should start doing a podcast for the visually impaired because not everyone gets to see their magazines, and I feel like Wetherspoons magazine is a treasure.
So you're visually impaired and you'd like a talking version of the...
No, I'm not visually impaired, to be honest, but I feel like I was...
Do you know something? Do you know something? I reckon I will phone up Wetherspoons and I will send them this video because I have to say, one experience that I've had with Wetherspoons, when their pub in Morecambe is called the Eric Morecambe. Right, no, it's not, but it's named after Eric Morecambe. I think it might be his actual name rather than whatever. And Thora Hurd's family discovered that there was a pub named after Eric Morecambe, but there was no tribute to Thora Hurd, and they made their own blue plaque, Wetherspoons, and paid for it and everything. Wetherspoons are very lovely people. I think if we tell them that we've had a request for an audio version of the magazine.
Well, we all get visually impaired after a few pints anyway, so we can all do with it. And a lot of their people won't be able to read.
Asher, remember, could be money in this, right?
How much would you be prepared to pay?
No, they'll pay.
All right,
we'll read
Sorry,
it out.
Tom, I didn't mean that.
You'll be the... Yes.
You'll be the presenters.
Yeah, very good. That's it.
I'll be your roadie. I'll just take you on tour. That suits me. If they give us a free curry.
What do you do for a living that you're on holiday from now, Tom?
So I'm an engineer, but it's just nice to get away. I want to switch off from work while.
Why the Isles of Scilly?
Oh, just somewhere new, somewhere that I've heard good reviews about from friends. I thought, you know what? Why not?
But you're in Northampton. You could have gone to Birmingham for the weekend.
She went on holiday. That woman in the gallery, what's her name? Saya or something? Sonia, right? Sayonara.
Sophia.
I have had a few. She went on holiday. She went on holiday to Battle.
Battle is great. I went to Battle.
Isn't it amazing how they actually had the battle? What coincidence in a place called Battle?
No. History suggests otherwise. But yeah, I missed my flight to Gatwick once, so I thought I have a whole day to kill till I get my next one, going to Jersey.
It's very interesting. Battle Abbey.
So I went to Battle, and that was actually very lovely.
It is fascinating.
Yeah. So the Isle of Scilly must be quite incredible as well, because, being on that side.
Do you know what? A great story that Christian May told me years ago.
Oh, yeah.
They own... So the May family apparently own a number of things in the Isle of Scilly. And one day somebody came in and he ordered a plate of fish. And he said, "This is the best fish I've ever tried." And he said, "I'm actually the head of the EU fishing quota team."
Oh.
Right. And he said, "I must ask your chef, how do you get fish as good as this?" And Christian May said, "Because we completely ignore the EU fishing quota. We fish whatever we want and just ignore you." And he went, "Well, it does work."
Anyway, thanks, Tom. 03444991000. Glenn in Andover. We got Graham, the British Bob Dylan. We got Janice. Janice is still alive, by the way. A lot of people were worried about Janice.
I thought she was dead.
We all thought, well, she said she was going to die that night she rang in. But she didn't. She's still alive, so that's good news, because we were all very worried. So we might be getting her on. Janine in Bournemouth, Mount Cheshire, and Grace in Ealing.
I've got to say, that night was awful for Asher. So what you have to understand this story, you have to understand that Asher, if you tell him you're medically ill and you're a presenter, he has to tell you to go to hospital, right? And Janice was going, no, I'm fine. So he had to sit there for about 15 minutes.
And then she didn't ring for like 3 weeks, and I thought, what have we done?
But for legal reasons, he has to tell you to go to hospital.
Yes,
but she's alive. Janice is alive, and we'll be speaking to her possibly after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yeah. It's, that's my fan, sorry, blowing on my mic. The aircon's gone in here, I wish they'd fix it. Anyway,
Right, can we just, and now I'm in the contributor seat, Asher. I just want to make this point to you, right? We are sitting here sweltering, right? They, and I'm not having a go at them because they agree with us, but they are in a room, the gallery, where they could open the door. The air conditioning in there is regularly serviced. The air conditioning in here is not regularly...
They're saying it's actually too cold in there. They're mocking us.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, look, I have to do my face and everything.
I can see them wearing their ski jackets in there, yes.
Yeah, they're freezing.
No, look, I'm not having a go at the team in the gallery because they do agree with us, but it's just horrendous.
Yeah,
it's horrendous. I'll tell you the other day, and I'm not being nasty, right? We finished a shift, and I don't know. I could smell myself and smell Asher, right? And
it was a beautiful blend.
It was literally. We'd only been sat there 3 hours, but it was like. No, I mean it wasn't that bad, right? I mean it wasn't
like one of these beers.
It was more like. Do you remember the teenage underpants smell?
Oh dear,
it was that one. It was that one.
You need some Lynx Africa to combat that. Yes.
Do you remember that at school when you thought your mum used to buy 2 for 50p, and you go, "Can we get the Lynx? It's all the same." Oh no, come on, mum.
Well, it has 48 protection, that cheaper one. So
I used to work at Unilever Data Analytics. I shouldn't say this, but they said the Lynx adverts basically say to 13-year-old boys, if you buy this, you will get sex. All the adverts say that.
That's basically what it says, yeah.
Of course, it's not true, but...
Not with Lynx Africa. Glenn in Andover. Glenn, International Beer Day. Glenn.
Good evening, Ash.
Good morning. It's morning, yeah.
Oh, morning, sorry.
Time to wake up, rise and shine.
Yeah.
So what's...
I've got a question.
Ian Collins, he'll be on soon.
He's got a question.
Shoot.
Related to International Beer Day, do you think if our politicians were drunk all the time, they'd make better decisions?
Well, they are drunk all the time.
Yeah, they get subsidised.
I'll tell you what. My dad phoned me up and he went, "That Mark Reckless, he was so drunk he couldn't walk through the lobby. Have you ever met him?" And I said, "I've only spent one night with him." And he went, Don't tell me I went, yeah, it was me that got it shedded. No, I've got to say, David Morris, the MP for Morecambe, who I worked for,
Dave,
absolutely refused to drink whilst he was voting. And he said, now all you have to do, remember, your working day's over, voting would happen at like 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock. But he always said, it feels disrespectful to be drunk when you're walking through putting pieces of legislation. And I thought, actually, I do agree with that.
Yeah, and usually the Speaker picks up on it, so it has happened in the past, and the Speaker usually asks the member to...
Has there been someone speaking drunk that's been obviously drunk?
Yes, yes, I think it was. I think, what's his name? The guy was a member for Kensington and Chelsea, Alan Clark. Alan Clark, I remember Claire Short got up and said, in this house, we must assume that everyone's an honourable member and therefore not drunk. But I do think I ought to point out that the minister should not turn up in this condition.
But on budget day, the Chancellor, is it since Gladstone, you can drink?
Yes, I was going to say, but it's stopped since, what's his
Gordon
name?
Brown,
no, before Gordon Brown, the Tory Chancellor...
Norman Lamont?
No, after him. One of the grand...
Ken Clark. No, Ken Clark drank a whiskey.
Yes, he did it. So he was the last one to do it. And then afterwards, they stopped doing it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I remember when they said normally the night, on the BBC, normally the night before the budget speech, the Chancellor of the Exchequer is working late. Ken Clark came to the Kennington Tandoori. He's just having a big curry.
Glenn.
Yep.
Anything else?
Drunk lives matter, I say.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. Let's go to Georgina in London. Hi, Georgina. She wants to talk about wokery, including medical profession.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm really worried about this wokery and this political correctness that the government and other organisations are trying to normalise. I mean, it really worries me, when the medical profession are allowed to do these Mengele-esque style gender transition experimentation on children that are under the age of consent. And, they think it's all right for our children to write Valentine's
Georgina, can I just defend the parents for a minute? Because if you go on these forums, these trans, young trans people forums, there's mums going, oh my God, my daughter's confused, my son's confused, blah, blah, blah. And they're trying their best. And what happens is they are invaded with all these comments saying, if you do not allow your child to transition, they will commit suicide. And these mums, and by the way, that is not true. By the way,
well, some of them will commit suicide when they have it done and realise what a mistake they've made.
But what happens is, but I just want to be clear. No mum would allow their child to amputate their genitals unless they were terrified by this. And I do think some of the people, because these people don't know.
They're not making these parents terrified. They're actually giving them the ammunition to do these kind of things. This shouldn't be allowed. I mean, I have got 5 beautiful children. Well, I've got 4 gorgeous sons and a beautiful daughter. I have been blessed. And not at any time have I had a problem with my children with, I want to be a girl if they're
What if you did have that, though? What if you did have that?
Well, the thing is, I think any responsible parent would sit their child down and say, look, at the present time, you are too young to make those decisions. You can't go out and buy a cigarette. You can't drive a car.
But now the authorities will threaten you if you do that.
But I personally think, and other people can disagree with this, fashions alter over the years, don't they? I mean, in the Georgian era, because blokes were all craggy-faced, they wore the makeup, and because women were quite attractive, they didn't. So, look, my advice to you is if you like running round in a frock with a big Margaret Thatcher wig at the weekend, if that's what you enjoy doing, I strongly advise you to do it. I think you're doing no harm, and many of these people are married and have a normal life or whatever. I have to say, if you believe you are born in the wrong body, you are by definition wrong. Now, look, body modification, whether that be piercing, tattoos, is something that people do. I don't personally think it's a particularly good idea. But the big problem is when somebody says, I believe I'm trapped in the wrong body, that is a mental problem. Right now, if somebody...
You wouldn't say to an anorexic, you're right, you are fat, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Now, look, I mean, ultimately, I am a libertarian on this issue. If you wish to amputate your genitals, I I wish you luck. It's not something I'd recommend, but ultimately, it's not going to. It's not if you have the mental health problem of believing that you are a woman when you're a man, amputating your genitals will not.
It will give you a physical health problem for life, though.
Children here. We're talking about children, Andre. You know, we have got to be responsible enough to make the decisions for the betterment.
Well, I prefer. By the way, Georgina, I prefer to call it chemical castration, not puberty blocker. Because it's the same drug.
I agree with you.
If you as a parent say, I am going to agree for you to do this, years later, and I've heard this story happen, the kids go to the parents, why did you allow me to do this?
Exactly. We are here to give our children the advice that they need.
But the other thing, the other point to make is, you know, I always say that Asher and I are not dads, but we're very proud uncles. Look, at the end of the day, children have a right to be children. And you know, when you're a teenager or whatever, you know, the number one thing you want to do is get out in the world and you think you know everything and your parents hold you back and there's always that balancing act or whatever. But every loving family will recognise that this child does not have the competence to make these decisions and will protect them. And a normal teenage life, I would suggest to you, is when you get a bit of freedom, enough for you to do it, to go out in the world safely, but not pandering. A 14-year-old is a child and does not fully understand the implications of everything they do.
Yeah, indeed. And I think. Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, this is where I think parental responsibility is so important, and I think the onus should be on the parents. And I appreciate your argument saying that parents are terrified and they'd only do that because they think otherwise their children might end their own life.
Normalised. This kind of behaviour now is being normalised, and is anything but normal. When you've got men running around in dresses, and we see it all the time on these marches and God knows what, twerking in front of little children, I think that's a.
I've got to be honest with you. If I could abolish pride, I'd abolish it, and I'll tell you why. Because it's. I mean, I saw that thing on GB News, which was utterly ludicrous. But the reality is, it's exhibitionism. Right. Look, when people go, "Oh, you're so brave," oh, he's walking around in his underpants. He's not brave. I mean, not even.
He's quite brave in some places.
But I mean, brave is running into machine gun. It's like, okay, so if you want to go on a march to promote whatever view you want to promote, I'll buy that. But if what you're doing is just twerking in your underpants for the sake of it, I just think do it in your house. Right.
Yeah, but it's not brave then. If you do it in the street, that is very brave. Anyway, Georgina, we've got to go. But before the break, let's talk to the British Bob Dylan. Graham in North Holt, he's going to sing a song and I'm going to read you an important bit of news over the bed. Hello, Graham. What are you going to sing about today?
Always sounds the same, these songs.
Step Back in Time by Kylie Minogue on a guitar.
Oh.
Away you go. And I'm going to tell you the story.
I'm going to bring my bassoon next time.
Always sounds the same.
Graham, pick the guitar up.
I want to funk. I want to funk. If you ain't kidding.
Always sounds the same.
It's Bob Dylan, though, isn't it? Pain in the neck. A circus performer is recovering after his wife and fellow performer accidentally shot him in the neck with an arrow from a crossbow during a show. Anna Daza Tavera, 42, and Edwin Cuervo Rangel, 38, were doing their regular sharpshooting act at a county fair in Middletown, New York, on the 24th of July when the accident occurred.
Get down, Boogie, or you can do it. Step back in time.
The circus was cancelled for the night, and Cuervo Rangel was airlifted to hospital, where the arrow was removed and the wound site stitched up. Ringmaster Benjamin Jackson said there was no blood leaking out. There was a little around the hole where the arrow went in.
You can do it.
Kind of like getting your ear pierced, he said.
You can do it. Step back in time.
The circus resumed its regular schedule, but the sharpshooting act is on hold while Cuervo Rangel makes a full recovery. Here, listen to Graham before we go to the break.
Awful. Always sounds the same.
Yeah, but it's different, isn't it, how he does it?
It's not different.
I've got to bring my bassoon next time. And,
bring your
bassoon. If you bring your bassoon, I'll hurt you.
Graham.
The bassoon king is in town.
Graham.
Yeah?
We're going to have a bassoon player next time with you. Are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, I'll do anything for you. Don't worry about that.
OK, that is Graham, the British Bob Dylan troubadour.
Oh, my God.
It's Ash Andre and Mike Salem, and it's all about your calls for the last few minutes on Talk.
Yeah.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Right, 034. Well, we're out of time now, but great news. Janice is alive. Janice, you were worrying us. We thought you'd. Well, the other night when you called in, you said you were going to die, and I told you to go to hospital and you refused, and then we couldn't get through to you for 3 weeks, and everyone's texting us worried sick.
I'm so breaking it.
You survived.
I'm so breaking it, all right?
Janice, can I say one thing to you? Janice, you need to... Janice,
silence, Janice!
Janice, you need to listen to this. You need to listen to this. Right.
Okay.
For legal reasons, the presenter of the show, if somebody phones up and says, I think I'm going to die, then they have to get you to say, I'm going to go to hospital. You were there for about 15 minutes.
And imagine if you had died, Janice.
I mean...
Well, I don't think
been my fault.
bothered, really.
No, what you have to do is... What you had to do was agree with him. Just agree with him.
I must have been off the planet by saying that.
You
I
are
don't
off
even remember saying that.
Yeah, well, you are.
It's in a bit of a bad way.
Why, what's
Been
wrong
in a
with you,
bit of a
Janice? You
bad
sound
way.
actually good. You sound chipper.
Well, I can walk now.
Well, that's one.
The 5 weeks where I haven't been able to blooming walk.
So where'd you
I've
walk
not
to?
been out of weight, so I wasn't in a good place. My cat's nearly dying. Did I say I'm dying or my cat's dying?
I don't know.
Because my cat's dying.
Your cat died.
You don't have an
Which one of us
obligation to
is
say
that?
anything about
So
cats.
one of you
I
died,
did
but
phone up
yeah,
and asked a serious question.
yeah,
I want to ask you two guys.
3 of us.
Do you actually think Andy Burnham's going to make a difference in this country?
Well, probably a worse difference.
yes,
Probably
good
worse.
question.
I'll tell you one
You
thing.
think it'll be worse?
No, I'll tell you one
Because
thing.
people sort of like him a bit.
No,
which
I'll
is
tell you one
weird,
thing.
isn't it?
I'll tell you one thing that I like about Andy Burnham. No, there's two things I like about Andy Burnham. Point number one, the whole Starmer thing of criminalising his opponents.
Yeah.
Andy Burnham will stop that.
He's not a nasty person in that way.
I think the other thing is look, Labour are not going to stop spending, but I did agree with one thing that he said. Let's stop spending on welfare and start spending on infrastructure.
And net zero, he's weakening, strengthening on pumping oil.
Yeah, I mean, look. I'll tell you what Andy Burnham wants. Andy Burnham is Boris Johnson, the Mancunian version. He wants to build lots of stuff and name it after himself. I'm good with that. I would rather build, you know, some skyscraper that's taxpayer funded than stick 400,000 people on benefits. I would rather. I think they're both a waste of money, but one of them kills the 400,000 people.
Well, it end like Boris, though? I mean, Boris really couldn't do the serious job. He could be all right as a mayor. Isn't that the same with Burnham?
But I don't think you can run this country.
It's interesting you compared it to Boris, because it's exactly the same pattern. A mayor, both ex-mayors, both now in number 10, both sort of being introduced as a breath of fresh air to try and break away from the traditional view of their parties.
Coming up with silly schemes, you know what I mean? Like pointless, like the bus £2 thing.
Well, levelling up. Who did levelling up? Boris. And now Burnham's one to do number 10
I do think the other thing that annoyed me about Andy Burnham is this. Look, there are two very different things in terms of homelessness. Rough sleeping is an issue of mental health, and we need to give people mental health support, and I get that. Homelessness, you know, sofa surfing, living in motels, you know, a whole family to one bedroom, you know, this is a really serious issue. At the end of the day, you know, I don't want to sound disparaging. But rough sleeping is a minor issue that can be dealt with by mental health professionals and will be an ongoing battle. However, there are hundreds of thousands of people who are not properly accommodated in this country, and that is a much bigger issue.
A lot of them don't want to be, though.
No, I'm talking about the actual not properly. No, I mean, look. At the end of the day, as long as there is abuse, as long as there is PTSD, as long as there is drug abuse and alcoholism, there'll be street homeless people. But actually, the real homeless problem is the underhoused people, and there will be thousands of them listening to this show right now who are, you know, 6 of them in one room. There'll be loads of them.
Oh, hello, if you're listening. 6 to a room. Anyway, John, is that it? Yeah, you all right?
Thank you.
Bye. Cyrus in London. Great to hear you back, though, Janice. Give us a ring tomorrow.
I love the name Cyrus. Cyrus is a cool name.
Oh, Cyrus.
Hello.
Hi, Cyrus.
Oh, yes, hi. You know, I'm watching the TV. There's a bit of a difference. Basically what I was going to say, couldn't we have the immigrants, when they come over, work on the British farms? Not for minimum wage, but for a lot less. We give them a piece of land near the farm where you could house them. They could set up their own community. It helps people nearby because they've got a problem with them living nearby, etc., etc. Basically, we would help the British farmers at the same time, because I still can't believe to this day it's cheaper for us to buy produce abroad than it is when we can homegrown.
Why don't we just get the 5 million who are on the dole who can work, get them in the farms?
Although there is Cyrus makes an interesting point, because in the past what used to happen, and the reason why we have such long summer holidays at school, is that basically industrial workers used to go to the farms and spend sort of 8 weeks picking. Nowadays, we get people from abroad to come in, although it's harder. I've got to be honest with you. My view, I agree with Cyrus. Basically, I think fruit picking, vegetable picking and whatever is a great thing for people to do whilst we're deciding to chuck them out for being...
But we've got our own people who are just sitting there on their beds, playing with their Tamagotchis.
They were sitting there anyway, though, guys, weren't they?
Not if we force them out, so you're not getting your benefits, get out on the farm.
But actually, I saw when I was in Israel. I saw something which I thought was genuinely commendable. Basically, obviously, the people that were picking the fruit fell into 2 categories: either, you know, Gazans or very young Israeli sort of teenagers or whatever. Neither of whom now could do what they were doing. One of whom because they were in Gaza, and the other of whom because they were in Gaza, if I'm being totally honest. And I saw a group of American doctors, retired doctors, come over fruit picking, and those lads were no spring chickens. But actually, imagine we did this. Imagine we brought back that thing where families did go for the summer, and instead of going to Tenerife, instead of going to Benidorm, actually spent 6 weeks pea picking. I mean, they had a good laugh back in the day.
Well, they used to be the hot pickers, didn't they?
But I'm up for it. You know, Asher.
Yeah, I've been fruit picking.
Apparently.
You and I could get in a caravan together. Yeah, there'd be no naughty business. Fantastic. Not after last time.
You answered the phone, said that's exactly what they do in Australia, and it works. I didn't know they do that in Australia. If you come to Australia and you want to do whatever, you have to work on a farm, and that's how you earn your keep over there.
Yeah.
I think we should just encourage people to earn their keep. I mean, what we have at the moment is if someone's applying for refugee status in this country, they don't get work permit. They're just basically told, you sit in your room and we'll pay for everything. Where actually, no.
So why don't we get them working on the farm?
And I agree.
No, I'm in.
Yes.
I'm in. We're in.
Yeah, we all agree, man.
No, Cyrus, we're in.
Thanks, Cyrus. Let's quickly go to Carol.
No, do you know what Cyrus thought? Cyrus thought we were going to disagree.
Thank you.
All right, Carol, you're the last caller. Got about a minute.
I've been waiting for ever so ages, but it's worth it.
Yeah, man.
Now imagine, can we put this imagine, right, at the end of the day, we've had a policeman, right, who's been murdered, right?
Well, it was manslaughter they got done for in the end, but I agree.
Absolutely horrendous people, right?
Yeah, totally.
Imagine, right, you've got two people that are coming out, right, which is absolutely disgusting.
Mocking and smiling at the cameras.
Right,
That was disgusting.
Exactly. So imagine, you know, like at the end of the day...
Don't touch your mic, Mike.
Our police, our fire service...
Yeah, sorry.
Our people, right, who put us in ambulances, all go on strike this week. Imagine that.
Well, can I just...